Right, once again, so ladies and gentlemen, we would like to encourage everyone to join us for this fabulous, exciting day three of Green Legacy Johor Summit 2024. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, we have gathered for the last 3 days to exchange ideas and open discussion on this set topic. And at the same time, we had the opportunity for networking, establish, shall I say, connection, rapport, and whatever not. I think it is very important because in the changing environment, both on social and also on business environment, it is imperative that we tool ourselves, or we, shall I say, educate ourselves on the developing environment. For instance, like AI, what is blue economy, what is the carbon exchange, how it works. And of course, yesterday we also had the enlightenment of the what do you call that, labeling, right? Organic product, organic farming, and of course, it's important to be certified by authoritative bodies to enable you to market your product worldwide with a better market position, and of course at the same time with better pricing, not to mention the importance of labeling. Right, having said that, ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed our pleasure to cordially invite on stage to deliver her keynote address entitled Urban Green Spaces Promoting Biodiversity Conservation in Cities. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hand together and give a very warm welcome to Yang Berusaha Cik Hana Liana Lee Abdullah, Head of Strategy and Transformation CIMB Berhad Malaysia. Dipersilakan.
Thank you, Mr. MC. It's with great pleasure for me to be here to address this very interesting and important topic. Before that, I'll just have a little bit of an introduction. My name is Hana Liana. I am the head of transformation and strategy of Cement Industries of Malaysia Berhad, which is a subsidiary of UGM Group, which in turn is a company of under Khazanah Group. Yeah, all right. So basically, I'm from the cement and concrete industry, but very passionate about urban green spaces. So without further ado, I will proceed with my talk, yeah? Okay, now, look at these two interesting photos. Before I introduce the whole topic itself, I'd like to ask the audience, which picture do you like, A or B? All right, I think I have unanimous response for B. Yes, I would love B as well. But can anyone tell me what's the key difference between these two pictures? Anyone in the audience? Okay, there's somebody with the hands up there. Lady with the white tudung. Okay. Very good. Or maybe I shall walk around with this mic instead. All right. Yes, that is very true. The key difference is the green space, yeah? And I shall go to the next slide to explain a little bit more about why we like that picture B, yeah? Can you imagine, you're staying up high in the condominium, in the middle of a bustling city. When you look up in the window in the morning when you wake up, wouldn't it be so refreshing for you to be able to actually breathe the fresh air, see butterflies up at your condo? That would be amazing. And that's why I would like to touch on a little bit of the benefits of having urban green spaces in a bustling city where there are a lot of concrete and steel, a lot of high-rise buildings, yeah, because we need that. We do not know it, but it actually, the ecosystem actually provides us services that we do not realize it. We take it for granted. When we go back to our home villages or go out into the taman, we feel it, but we forget about it when we're back in the condo or high-rise or skyscraper. But in actual fact, the ecosystem itself provides us with services like the well-being and the health benefits. You work better, less stressful when you have the nature with you. Yeah? So that is also very important. Sometimes people don't realize it, but yes, they do have infrastructure, green landscape down at the floor level or maybe at the roof level. But if you're in between at the high rise, you don't have the greens. Later I'll touch on how do you bring the greens to the high rise. So the physical and mental well-being, better air quality, and it will also help in terms of climate resilience. It will help cool the overall building, cool the overall environment from the hot sun. That will reduce actually the urban heat island effect that we always feel when we're in the middle of the city. Yeah? And of course, when we talk about absorption of water, rainwater, it will be better when we have more greens where water can recharge and go straight to recharge your groundwater. That will be the natural way to actually prevent flash flood. And last but not least, when you have the flora, you will attract the fauna. Yeah, so the biodiversity will be there. The continuity of all our local species will be protected. Otherwise, where would we get the butterflies or the birds chirping, singing songs for us? Yeah, we have to give them space. We have to create the right habitat for them. With all this, we will enjoy the ecosystem services that is provided for us, which we always take for granted. Now, there are some key learnings from some of the leading architects who have really looked into how do we then create these important urban green spaces in cities. One great learning that I get from Dr. Ken Young, a prominent Malaysian architect who works in this ecological architect space. I mean, yes, you have a lot of architects who design green buildings, but Dr. Ken actually brings it to the next level where he really combines the ecological part of it into the overall building design itself. So what I'd like to point out is not just on ground level or the rooftop, but it's a continuous design where the green is joined, connected, it's not disparate. Because this will allow, let's say, the fauna to move around or the flora to move around for enhanced biodiversity, yeah? So if you want to, let's say, see butterflies, maybe next time in future you might want to buy from these kind of buildings at a certain level where it is designed for butterfly. Or if you want dragonfly, you stay closer to the ground. Isn't that interesting? You can enjoy flora and fauna throughout the whole building, as I mentioned just now. It's not necessary for you to just go downstairs to the taman just to enjoy the greens, yeah? You can actually enjoy all the way up to the rooftop. So this is what it means by vertical stratification of habitats, where the architect actually conduct a research on the native flora, make specific choices as to what flora they want with a targeted fauna in mind, yeah? Because the fauna will need the right habitat to stay here. So if you like certain songbirds that is locally available or locally their original habitat, then you create back that habitat for them so that they will actually come back to this area, yeah? If you look at the last point on green corridors, yeah? If you have ever experienced a highway which cuts, let's say, a particular forest into two parts, and you actually cut away certain level of diversity that the fauna or flora can actually cross-pollinate or for animals to cross the road, yeah? In actual fact, some actually design eco-bridges to connect them, yeah? It's like a pedestrian walk, but it could be underneath or it could be above the highway, but it is a way that is paved, allow animals to cross safely. Yeah? And so in this building, the design is such that when it touch ground, it will continue on to the park. So if an animal so decide want to follow this trail up all the way to the rooftop, it is possible because it's all connected. So that is a very interesting learning point I gather from Dr. Ken. Okay, the next one. Another inspiration that I draw on is actually from Dr. Yu Kongjian. He is the pioneer of sponge city concept. I'm not sure whether you have heard of it, of him and his work, but he's actually quite well renowned. And his focus is more on the landscape outside, yeah? More for flood mitigation. How do you channel the water in such a way that it will help the city from getting flooded during storms, yeah? It will be more climate resilient. Because we always talk about how do we reduce our carbon footprint so that the climate change will be contained within 1.5 degrees. Yes, we are all very busy chasing for that. But nevertheless, we must not forget that the 1.5 will happen. And with that 1.5, the weather is already changing. So that is where we talk about climate change adaptation. We cannot just only focus on reducing carbon footprint, but we have to prepare ourselves for the imminent future. Yeah, it's already upon us where lately we have been experiencing a lot of rainfall, certain areas are flooded. Maybe we need to take a glance and relook at all our infrastructure, yeah? All the great infrastructure that we have. Do we need to modify so that we can be more climate resilient? So here, this is an example. In Sanya, in Hainan Island, on the left side of the picture was the issue. Because of land reclamation, there are a lot of concrete walls that have been done to do the landfill. And as you can see, they have already killed a lot of the mangrove that was earlier on existing in this area. And the town experienced a lot of flooding because this is the confluence of the river into the South China Sea. Yeah? Now, Dr. Yu was tasked to make it more resilient to weather change. And for him, in his mind, you need to return nature back to this area. And what he has designed is on the right. And that is after a few years when the mangrove comes back online. Yeah? Because in his mind, the design is reverse as it flows out. You cannot straighten it. It still has to go on its meandering way so that it will reduce the speed of the flow. That's one of his particular concept. The other one is you have to have little islands in between to also slow down the flow. You cannot have one empty river flowing out. There's nothing to slow it. So now, to bring back nature, that's how he designed little pathway, little islands in the river itself to help absorb water and at the same time slow down the flow, slow down the erosion, and also bring back clean air in this area. Yeah? When you have pokok bakau, you have other marine life or the confluence between the salt water and the fresh water, there'll be a lot of thriving water life over here, the life under the sea or under the water. And this will help filter the water and help you clean the water. So this is what ecosystem services, yeah, the biodiversity will provide these services to you without you even knowing it. Hence, and if you look closer, there are some structures within this whole mangrove park, which I'll show you a little bit. Beneath the canopy is actually a clever architectural design of open spaces for people to enjoy the nature. Yeah? You can, so it's like bringing back nature and people in harmony. So if we can actually plan these kind of things, especially here in Johor, where you have a lot of all these features, yeah, mangrove and so on, just bear in mind when you do land reclamation or you do new development areas, think of these two concepts. If it is high-rise, if you need the skyscraper, you can also bring the green urban space up all the way up to the skyscraper. And at the same time, if you talk about the open landscape for stormwater management, runoff, and also in terms of preventing flooding, these are some of the few concepts that we can actually borrow from and learn from and incorporate here. And this become now a tourist attraction. It will earn tourist dollars as well. So there are economical benefit as well as ecological benefits to this whole area. Now, you might think, why am I from a cement industry talking about urban green spaces? I come to this slide where I will explain to you the background. Just now was mostly focused on architects, right? Architects who design. But if architects and engineers work together with the material specialists, like for example, from the cement and concrete perspective, that's how you can then combine all this into transformative innovation. Why? Just as an example, yeah? The gardens by the bay. The architect can dream of it. But of course the engineer will struggle. Okay, how am I going to do this super tree growth, right? The architect has really done it in a very beautiful manner. So the engineers will be challenged to do it. And what did the engineer do? The engineer will then look into what kind of material can actually support that kind of structure. And they have landed on, if you look at it, it's an advanced concrete technology. You have lightweight and strong. It cannot be the normal conventional grade 20, grade 30 for those who have a little bit of a construction background. It will have to be high performance concrete, leveraging on the latest technology. What it means is, if you had used a normal conventional concrete, you wouldn't be able to achieve that structure because it would have been a thick column and you cannot go and do all this aesthetic design which is thin and light. Yeah? So that's how concrete can actually help you build this structure. So it's a combination of skill sets from all different trades. Similarly to the flower dome. Have you all visited the gardens by the bay? Anybody? Show of hands. Okay, there are two gentlemen there. One here, one, all right. Okay, quite a handful. I hope you enjoy the gardens by the bay. Yes. Remember the domes where they actually house different flora, especially from all the different climate. It's a controlled climate inside there. But you're not disturbed by columns here and there. Yeah? It's a superstructure where it's column free. And they can plant the trees and do the landscaping in a very agile and flexible manner. Why? Again, it is because of understanding how and what type of materials that you can use to build the structure that you dream of. And here, of course, you do have this high performance concrete again, together with steel, yeah? That's how it's done. Similarly, like for example, walkways, yeah? If you want to make it a little bit more green instead of just gray infrastructure, you can also use permeable concrete. Permeable concrete is where it is concrete, it provides you the hard walkway, but water can go through. It allows water to flow through. There's no water ponding. So when visitors come, it is non-slippery, even though the plants will always get watered and water will be on the pathway, yeah? And the whole area cools because when the water permeates out again, it continues to cool the area. And of course, if you want any of these aesthetic and landscape design, concrete will also be a very flexible material, yeah? So basically, coming back to the point where you can't work alone. So I guess by understanding how technology has advanced, and now going forward with AI, as the past 2 days you've been exposed to a lot of different new frontiers in terms of technology. I can expect us to actually just to push it further, push the envelope further as to how we can combine our imagination and our dream of wanting nature with us, even though we are up in the high rise, in the middle of the city, the picture B just now, yeah, how we can do it. Because if we don't do it now, 2 generations later, it will disappear for our kids and our grandkids. Can you imagine our grandkids living in picture A? What a sad thing that would be, right? We want them to continue to be able to enjoy picture B. So, what say you? We bring back the kampung to the city. Okay, that is my last slide. I'm open for any questions.
Right. First of all, okay, we're going to have the QR code for you to actually punch in your question. And Puan, I must apologize because I introduced as CIMB, but you're from CIMA. My apologies. Okay, on a personal note, I think, do we have engineers? Do we have architect here? And I agree with you, ma'am, because I think architect and engineer has to work together. Because if an architect were to build a building, it will come crumbling down. But if an engineer built a building, people will tear it down. They have to work together. Okay? So like I said, okay, we have first question, ma'am. The question goes like, what strategies can Johor adopt from Garden by the Bay to engage architects and engineers in designing sustainable, multifunctional spaces? May I repeat the question? What strategies can Johor adopt from Garden by the Bay to engage architects and engineers in designing sustainable, multifunctional spaces?
Okay, I think basically what we can, let's say, suggest for Johor, because Johor does have the richness in terms of the space, but there are a lot of flooding issues. So I think maybe we can actually pick up some of these key pointers to when we design green open spaces, we take care of the stormwater runoff management, as well as how we allow the nature to actually provide us their services. Yeah, so we need to also analyze what are the native flora and fauna and bring them back instead of importing invasive species into the area. Yeah, that will protect your local biodiversity and the stormwater management and provide the beauty for our enjoyment, yeah, for the well-being of our mental and physical health. So I suppose those are the key elements that can be incorporated.
Well, I still welcome one more question, all right? Okay, the next question, ma'am, is what challenges and solutions are involved in transforming lifeless urban areas into thriving green spaces like the Sanya Mangrove Park project?
Sorry, can you repeat?
What challenges and solutions are involved in transforming lifeless urban areas into thriving green space like Sanya Mangrove Park?
Well, the challenges would be firstly maybe from the authority and the planning perspective. This is where the drive from the government is actually very important, and also in terms of guidelines on preservation of nature. Because without this push, developers will not have the incentive to actually do all this, because it is going to be an additional cost to the development. Yeah, but maybe to strike a win-win would be the developer working with the authorities, yeah, both contributing to it with a longer-term benefits in mind. Yeah, it will actually enhance the property value of all the surrounding development. So I guess that would be one of the key challenge. The second is really to have enough people with knowledge working on the project. Yeah. You really need to have a combination of those who understand the hydrology, yeah, and also the ecology and the engineering part. We need to uplift our own human capital as well to actually address all these issues. It's not a very straightforward thing. And another item is actually the maintenance of it. Yeah, there's also another challenge that the team has raised in terms of how do you then upkeep it, because it's not easy to upkeep. But hopefully once it's at a sustainable level, yes, it will be simpler. It's like in Langkawi, I've been to some of these pokok bakau as a tourist. They'll take you to go see throughout the river where the pokok bakau is being preserved and so on. Because once nature takes on, it will actually self-maintain. But as long as nobody else pollute it from upriver. So that is, maybe I add on one more challenge. People polluting the river. Because once you start polluting the river, all the rubbish will come downstream. And all the rubbish will be caught in between the pokok bakau. I mean, in a way, it's good. It helps you filter before it goes to the river. But somebody will have to start collecting rubbish from here. Yeah. So those are the few challenges I can think of.
And at the end of the day, it's still about, political will. It's about, the, shall I say, our personal effort as a person, on a individual basis, right? Having said that, all right, ladies and gentlemen, let's once again give a big round of applause to Madam Hana Liana Abdullah, Head of Strategy and Transformation, CIMA Berhad. Right, and of course, it's interesting to know that I've read this somewhere that, an acre of grass can actually produce oxygen for about 64 people. Right, amazing, eh? So which means that, you have even the one lot of grass can actually sustain or produce enough oxygen for 4 people. And trees actually talk to each other, okay? Trees actually talk to each other by mycelia. It is called the wood wide web, okay? You can look it up, right? So having trees and, urban green is very good in terms of aesthetic, in terms of environment, and in terms of, shall I say, appealing values, right? So probably, policy makers, architect, engineers can work on this in the near future, right? So ladies and gentlemen, we should continue with our third day of the Green Legacy Johor Summit 2024. This time around, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have a keynote address entitled Greenwashing versus Genuine Sustainability, Navigating Corporate and Environmental Claims. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Yang Berbahagia Professor Datuk Dr. Nur Alini Mokhtar, Director, Malaysia Institute of Integrity, Malaysia.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much to our MC. Thank you everyone for being here early in the morning. And I really appreciate the first speaker, Pan Hana Liana, for giving the setting. First, I would like to thank the organizer for inviting me to speak to you early in the morning. I wish I could walk about. It's okay. Like to correct the introduction. My name is Nur Aini Haji Mokhtar. I am a distinguished fellow at the University Malaysia Terengganu. And I've been invited as a visiting professor to the Institute of Science Diplomacy, UCSI. And I'm standing here with my colleague from Marine Ecotourism. So that actually shows why I'm here with you, with the choice that we made to bring the green legacy. Yeah? So how are you this morning?
Fabulous.
So I would like to start with my first slide, if someone can help me to, or I can do myself, right? So we have the same idea with Hannah this morning, right? Why are we here? Because our wish to have a good life, clean air, clean environment. We don't want to be on the left side, just as shown before. We make choice to wake up in the morning, to come here, to learn something, about how are we going to contribute to gain knowledge so that we also can create that legacy. If you're coming from the corporate sector, how would we do our business in a way that the carbon footprint, we talk about the calculation and how we need to understand about the SDGs. How are we embraced to be part of the legacy to create green growth? So with this, left or right, if we talk about life, hell and paradise, with pollution, and you talked just now about the calamities like the floods, the air, the temperature, and compared to on the right-hand side. So we make the choice this morning so that we can gain and share the knowledge. So that's what I thought myself. It's my choice to be here to share with you some of the things that I've experienced, as academic life and being in the advisory for the United Nations in the Ocean Science Decade. So 2030, as we pledge, with the things that we want to do, we have economic growth, quality of life, but climate change is real in a way that what do we do on land and what do we do taking care and manage the waters is a way that between supplier and consumers in demanding a better choice and life. So it's up to us to be together as the SDG, 17 goals of them. If you are aware, I put it here, that concerns the talk on greenwashing. So what is greenwashing? Sometimes it's tough for us to realize that the news has been, out in terms of, this company has actually created the news that they claim, the report, or the products that they have or the services that they have is actually ecological, carbon-free, carbon neutral, this like labeling in their products or services. So in Malaysia, it's still quite new, but it has been there in terms of the corporate sector where the companies already, in the corporate board has been discussing how actually they actually brand, create their reputation. So sometimes we talk about, in the universities, talk about green campus, green curriculum, green community, green research, green culture, and what so not. But in companies, they must sustain their products because of the greater awareness of late that everybody has to be environmental friendly. The drive is to have the company to brand themselves to ensure that they have sales, they have businesses in a way that they have to capitalize on this kind of branding. It's their choice. So with this, I would like to Hello? No, it's not. Okay, I have to stand here anyway. But what is greenwashing? It's a misleading misappropriation of labeling your products. But there are services that we can actually create in terms of undermining the interest to have a genuine sustainability agenda. So why is this topic so important? It is so important today because as a supplier and consumers, we need to understand that this is our rights. Yeah? Sometimes in areas where concern by the other party, like the consumers or the community, when you do projects that actually create a degradation and detrimental to the livelihood of the community, and then the company has to actually ascertain that they prepare themselves in terms of what sustainability, environmental claims that they have. So in this conference, I realized that there are separate sessions discussing about the actions in terms of environmental accounting, understanding about the cost for carbon footprint, but at the same time, how to counter, how we put up genuine sustainability accounting, which is our approach is towards more a nature-based solution. So in the last session, we discussed about the index and standards. And one of them, you can realize that the topic on green building. Just now, Hannah showed also the construction, architectural, and the engineers, how actually they create an environment that is what we wish for. So with this, green building has to have the pillars of the index, which comprise of the quality, energy efficiency, water efficiency, as well as the material, as well as the site sustainable planning. So this is an example of the thing that we need to put in place to understand what are the pathways that we need to have the indicators, one thing, but we need to have the standards as well as measurable items. So sustainable claims will have quantitative approaches, meaning that you not just simply label as is ecology, yeah, ecological or environmental friendly. On the first day, we have one company from Johor, Surfacto. They have the company have all the elements. Yeah, even some big companies under PLCs also have the elements of innovations. You know, they have all the elements of community-based approaches. They have how they handle the carbon footprint. So with this, we understand that many ways in terms of people communicate about greenwashing as to the product that they promote. So to go into detail, these terminologies that you may come across later on, yeah, as we move beyond our normal process of the green growth, the green lighting, green hushing, green rinsing, green shifting, green crowding, these are all elements towards green labeling. I just want to tell you a story. About 15 years ago, I was in New York and I was invited, one of the women leaders who are working in the Coral Triangle region, so that we are a party to understand within this region on what WWF is actually talking about in the areas of sustainability. At that time, we talk about the illegal, unregulated, unreported fishing, IUU, in the seafood industry. Yeah? Because our waters are very rich in fisheries. So how do countries, developed countries, actually transfer the knowledge or to ensure that we understand to become leaders of advocates for sustainability, that greenwashing is there and eco-labeling is there. In developed countries, if you go to supermarket, you can actually scan the fish coming from which country. So this, actually EU has enforced this. So in our country as well, is our interest as to how we advocate, be passionate enough in being part of the contribution to contribute for this understanding and this unethical approach just because you want to have your products or services to be what you call commercialized in a way, but you have to go superficially without having the statistics, the data, and so forth. So this comes to the areas where sometimes the way it's represented, greenwashing, you can detect in the way that they say is in a fluffy language. It's just more a gimmick, yeah? Green products, you know, even though they are a dirty company with like a car, but the exhaust pipe actually produce flowers. Such a shame, right? So suggested pictures or claims that we have no proof, that we have all the statements that actually, the language that actually you could not buy in as a sustainable gimmick or representation of the branding of the product or services. So you can read more about this in the blog on greenwashing versus genuine sustainability. So there are many examples to create, because sometimes when they get caught about greenwashing, is they have no proof, no quantitative data to actually verify. So verification is important when you have exercised this sort of communication to actually increase in your business. So one example, the glove, top glove, yeah, top quality, top efficiency. So how you define that? And also Sime Darby greenwash also. This was in 2012 for Sime Darby, and we realized that companies will come forward and have their own people to be trained and skilled and understand in terms of what are the false declaration that they have, and they have learned till then. And I show you that even the language that they use in the reports, we must have quantitative evidence of the proof that you have actually activate the environmental friendly purposes. It's just a language. Previously, we heard about CSR. Companies, corporate sectors invest in the green services, ecosystem services, or do their part, yeah, for the community, for the society as a whole, is corporate social responsibility. Yeah, under the name of sustainability, they have certain goals, but the whole idea is towards a market-driven approach. But nonetheless, it's how ethical and how the community or the consumer response is also evidence in how you actually communicate to the public. Okay, in the green tech industry, we have this process of certification. Yeah, so I show you all these elements in terms of, at the end of the day, if you are exporting, you have to go through MIDA, yeah, But the process flow in terms of the application, you have My Hijau, all these actually the framework that has been here for the small industries. Yeah, for the bigger corporate sector, they have their own strategy in a way where it's governed by the Ministry of Finance and Securities Commission. We must learn from bigger companies that who has been there, they have learned their lessons. Again, I show you here in terms of the YTL as well, again, SIMDB. Why SIMDB is here again? Meaning they have learned during the process, because in the beginning it was quite hazy. We are so passionate about marketing your product or marketing your service or to increase your PR value. So these companies has certain highlighting in terms of their environmental performance. What do they do in terms of involvement in the greening, involved in the mangrove restoration, how they reduce the total carbon emissions, how they involve with the communities, how would they innovate, and then how they improve in terms of good governance in their company. So these are elements of indicators where is a passport for them to capitalize for bigger support capitalization and funding from the bigger investors. So increasing the shareholders' value is important, but at the same time, the corporate sector and the individuals in the company also must know. So we realize that nowadays, we have more companies having the sustainability executives. Yeah, I can see early this morning, only young people. I mean, not so young, but all of you are young people. You are the early risers, men and women who are passionate enough, because we, as not so young, giving you some insights, something that we have not done, and we wanted to do, but maybe not too late, you know. So you are the ones who to carry the torch. Okay, for transformation, yeah, in terms of the corporate sector, from CSR, it becomes ESG. So it's the buzzword about environmental, social, and governance is part of the sustainability pillars. Okay, so for environment, the corporate sector has to bear in mind whatever business that they do, you have to be passionate enough, even the leaders, starting from the CEO to everybody, to have the mission and vision, to be passionate enough to reduce your carbon footprint. But your ecological footprint must be there. You aspire to be preparing the next generation a better living environment. Okay? So with this, the institution in Malaysia, apart I mentioned to you about the qualification, the framework about endorsing the certification, we have CRIM also as part of the element of the mission to ensure technology that you bring in to be qualified, to be verified, to be validated, so that you have greenwashing is not in the picture once you start promote your product or services. So under CRIM, they have all sort of certification process and support, training, consulting in terms of ESG, even up to the procurement. We have the standards. We know that we have the Environmental Act, but we know that we have ISO in terms of doing the process. So people, climate, and environment is interlinked. As you can see in the picture, it's us, the people. It's our choice to actually make the change. Human intervention, which actually lead to the utilization of resources that we have. So be it is exploitation or be a sustainable approach on the wise management of the resources we have, thinking into the future, we need to have this circular economy, meaning that we have to put it back what we take. So the nature provides and contributes to the livelihood of the people on earth. So we need to restore the nature. So this comes to the nature-based solution that I'm talking about. How would an industry or corporate sector, companies, projects, developments understand that Johor, very ambitious, but wanting to be the hub, the green hub for the region, I think it's something that very ambitious, but we salute for Johor to come in the forefront. Perhaps will be a model to other states in the country. So, because of the multi-stakeholders, especially in the region where largely populated areas, where people go to near the water, near the sea, near the rivers. So here development is very rapid, and then to understand that we have to plan spatially in terms of the fair share or the equity, diversity, equity, and inclusion of every need, like the fishermen, like the companies, manufacturers, like the normal people in education, the infrastructure. You need to build airport, you need to build the jetties, right? So for these urban needs, we need to have this marine spatial planning or aquatic areas where you need to plan well. But we need to have data. We need to have data. So how do we go about it in terms of addressing the climate change? We must have the policy. But the policy is there in terms of the ideas putting together. Where are the actions? Who's going to drive this? So Ryan mentioned just now about the political will. With this National Climate Change Policy 2.0 will actually drive us to a greater heights in terms of putting the work where your mouth is. You know, you walk the talk. Yeah? So just recently been launched, I think about a week, the National Sustainability Reporting Framework to all the PLCs. This is actually the think tank of from PERSADA, from SSM. They are the ones actually think what's best for the country in terms of getting the leaders, the corporate leaders, drive the green economy. So these are large listed issues from PERSADA. If we were to adapt to the climate change, you want to develop in terms of green growth, we need to have these areas to be dealt by the leaders where market capitalization will be huge. Yeah? So they need to have this clear idea on reporting ESG in order for them to get there, to get more capitalization, to have the projects, the development in a way for us to have a better living conditions in terms of adaptation for the climate change. I put here the National Climate Change Policy also. And I understand this conference also have the inclusion of the youth. And we see that many women are coming in the forefront. Suara Alam. This is an initiative from Bank Pembangunan Malaysia. The financial sector already coming into the forefront where we have the sustainability section, a particular group working to encourage the young people so that the voices to be heard what they want in the future, yeah, for the next generation and next generation to come. So, in a way, this coming from the universities, coming from the NGOs, coming from the corporate sector. So, under the Institute of Science Diplomacy, I am announcing this coming program under the leadership of Tan Sri Zakri. I think you all know him better. Yeah, he was the chairman of the Intergovernmental Panel for Biodiversity. So, science diplomacy which actually assists us to communicate, negotiate better in terms of balancing the need of the different stakeholders. But at the end of the day, we need to have the international, regional cooperation as well as the political leaders to take charge. So, science, we need. So I put out here in terms of policy interface, where I'm more passionate in terms of creating the bridge so that we can communicate better in terms of having the message across and the knowledge that you gain, you can exercise, whether you are the academic or you are the engineer or you become the CEO of companies. So at the university, we also have projects in Johor. We call it Immerse. It's a group to study and mapping using technology to understand more. So just now about the question about what do we need? What is the challenge? The challenge is the data. Do we have the baseline data in order to construct something or reinvent something? So we must know what is the state of the pollution of the rivers around Johor, for example. So in terms of opportunities for the corporate sector to work together with the universities, with the companies, with the NGO, to ensure that this place could possibly be one of the best ecotourism destination. This is in Sungai Pulai, yeah, where development for marine tourism also is taking place. So this is in Terengganu as an example, community, livelihood, the traditional knowledge about the biodiversity. We have domestic tourism run by alumni of graduates of the universities. So they work with the communities, the women, to show the culture, as well as the traditional method of producing food, and to ensure sustainability of resources like the different species that shown here. So this is in Stew, a wetland in Terengganu, and they also have the school for education and training. For the islands, I show here is a corporate sector from RHB Islamic. From the financial sector, also contributing. First, they talk about CSR. But now in the board, in the company, they talk about ESG. So something about advocates for marine plastics, you know, pollution, reducing debris. Okay, this is something of very high in the agenda for Malaysian policy to exercise. And then financial company, banks actually introduced credit cards. If you are subscribed to RHB, you have a credit card that you actually can contribute back to the conservation of the turtle. Okay, I go very quickly. I got the signal already. Just welcome to Terengganu if you have islands. But you have rivers, better still, you also can do a lot in Johor. Of course, you have also coastline that you can do the project. So, collaboration goals under SDG 17. We can commit to mutual accountability. But at the same time, we can plan for certain programs or projects for marine ecosystem, for aquaculture, for example, the planning as well as reducing pollution. Okay, under the ASEAN community, we are going to take chairman seat next year. So we have the strategy and we have the draft for the guidelines for the tourism. So announcing this event happening at the same time. The awareness is increased in terms of each sector of industry, we have their role to play. So to combat greenwashing, again, we have to put down on the standards and the certification. It's just that to be transparent on who and how is the thing that we need to have more sessions like this in terms of promoting the green growth. Okay, for water, for example, in Johor, do we have enough water, or we have lack of water, or we have too much water? Okay, so it's been identified that the stress index for lack of water, but at the same time there are floods during certain time here. So in the universities, we have these capabilities to map, to forecast. In our education, we cannot be just by ourselves. We have to be globalized in terms of doing business. So we can co-create and co-design projects under the program. So under the leadership for sustainability, we really encourage to empower the women and youth, and I'm glad to see all of you here. With that, we believe that as a takeaways, the greenwashing and genuine sustainability is just up to us. It's our choice, but we urge the corporate sector must be really critical in terms of become the leaders in the forefront in getting this understanding that environment consciousness is natural, cannot be superficial. With that, I thank you very much.
Right, once again, thank you very much kepada Yang Berbahagia Professor Dato Dr. Nur Alina Mokhtar. And of course, the only greenwashing that I know of is, you know, from Dr. Banner to the Incredible Hulk. That's about the only. Right, ladies and gentlemen, it's very interesting, all right? Because I think, some of us are really confused about, certain product being branded as green. And of course, as being explained by Prof, right? We have the, certain mechanism, all right? The question is, I just want to have one question, all right? Very quick one. How can consumer wants to know the real authentic green company? Is there any database for the authentic green companies?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I just put up one slide just now, and also I gave an example of Safecto company from Johor. The authentic, claims they are practicing sustainability. They have elements, certain element of the data or proof in terms of their contribution, in terms of innovations, in terms of reducing carbon footprint, in terms of their contribution to the community, and how they plan forward in terms of in terms of giving incentives and motivations. So we have YTL, just now I showed you, and SAMDABI has come out with the better ways of presenting their sustainability report. YTL also, I would like to mention here, has approached the university UCSI for producing eco-lighting. So when you label eco-lighting, what does it mean, eco-lighting? It's just that it's just a challenge to the researchers to come up with ideas from nature-based. Have you seen, it was mentioned yesterday by Prof. Dato' Aileen Tan, the episode of, when the water in the sea become pinkish and reddish. That was harmful algae bloom. The harmful algae bloom. But the algae itself could also be used in terms of sustaining lighting. That's a challenge. But YTL also has started to look into the material in terms of putting the light, so that in a way that they can sustain the lighting. So these are innovations, for example, that actually encourage and challenge the young minds to come up with something positive. Yeah? So this is the way forward that I can answer that question. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much, Prof. All right, once again, ladies and gentlemen, let's give Professor a big round of applause. Thank you, ma'am. All right, of course, the interest of various topic continues once again in conjunction with the Green Legacy Johor Summit 2024. Ladies and gentlemen, at this point in time, we would like to present what is called Corporate Circular Economy Claims, Reality versus Rhetoric. And of course, for that, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming respectfully Amanda Yeo, Event Director, ESG Malaysia.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Amanda from ESG Malaysia. Today, I will talk about the corporate circular economy claims. So basically, for myself, I spent the past 5 years in public policy, and I just moved to ESG last year. Maybe you ask me why I changed to public policy to ESG, because I think both areas share the same thing whereby I can contribute to the better society. And actually, last year, I also worked at Malaysian Recycling Alliance. It's an industry association that advocates in terms of sustainable packaging. Malaysia Recycling Alliance is formed by Nestle, Unilever, Coca-Cola, etc. And they try to reduce the plastic and the paper packaging. And I also worked in the Big Four before. And for now, I'm serving as the event director at ESG Malaysia, and also doing freelancing in terms of training and consultancy. So basically, this is ESG Malaysia. So basically, we will organize awareness talk in terms of sustainability reporting, carbon accounting, etc. every month in KL. And if, let's say, there is any interest that want to organize in Johor, we can also further communicate from there, because the aim is not only for Cam Valley alone, but we also need to gain the ESG awareness nationwide. So now I will go straight into the topic. So maybe you wonder, what is circular economy? So basically, circular economy is very different from the linear economy and also recycling economy. So for the linear economy, normally it's from take, and then you make, and then you use, and then normally you just throw in the rubbish bin. But for the recycling economy, it's like they try to take out from the rubbish bin and recycle again the waste. But this recycling economy is not enough. We still need a whole ecosystem in order to make the circular economy work. So you can see from the right side, whereby you can see like after you use, and then you will try to reuse, return, make, recycle, repair. So it's like a one cycle that always alternate. So basically, circular economy can come from few stages. Basically, it can come from the raw material first, and you will recycle the existing product and you try to reproduce again. And when the time you do the product design, you will use the recycle input. So when the time you recycle again, you can reuse again. So after you have the product design, you can produce. And then after you've done the production, you can distribute to your distribution channel. And afterwards, you can sell to the consumer, and then consumer will use the product, and then after they use the product, they will throw the product, but we not throw into the rubbish bin, but we just throw in the recycle bin for them to recycle. So basically, it's like a whole cycle whereby you can ensure the circular economy work. And basically, this diagram you can find from the circular economy policy framework for the manufacturing sector in Malaysia. So this one, I will share the image in the next slide so you can download the PDF later. So basically, I would like to mention why corporate care about circular economy. So basically, it can be from 4 aspects. First is the market and the consumer demand, because now more and more people, they care about sustainability. They will try to buy the eco-friendly product, so they will ensure the recycle will always happen. And also the regulatory compliance, because nowadays at the global level there are some regulation regarding circular economy, and Malaysia also start to have some policy framework, so that's why companies have to care about it. And next one is about the investor and ESG pressure, because some investor, they will see whether the company do some circular economy initiative. If yes, then the investor will invest the company who are really strong in circular economy. And last one, why circular economy is important to corporate, because in the end of the day, it will able to have the cost saving and also efficiency. I will talk more about how to reduce the cost and also improve the efficiency in the next slide. So for now, I will demonstrate some case study for the corporate. So you can see that the first case study is from IKEA. It's a global company that well known in furniture. Basically, IKEA, they have some initiative. First is the sustainable product design. They have some furniture, it's like they will use the recycled product, recycled material to reproduce the furniture. So basically, this is one. And then secondly, it's like, normally if the furniture is like not that well functioned, they will take back and they will try to reproduce again and resell again as well. And third one is the waste to resource effort. So basically, it's like when the time the furniture is not that well functioned, they will just utilize it and reproduce into the new furniture. But these are the claims that IKEA mentioned that they do, but in reality, it's quite limited for them to do the take back and the reuse program. And the product is still for the mass consumption. Normally, they will produce in a large amount. And when the time they want to recycle, the process is a bit slow. So normally, the furniture is more than the, the reused furniture. So that means there are more new furniture in the market. And then maybe you wonder, what is the difference between reality and rhetoric? Rhetoric basically is the marketing brand and also the communication to the public. Basically, this one is like IKEA, they say that they promote sustainability. But in reality, because they always have to produce the furniture very fast paced, so actually they're not really able to comply with the circular economy principle effectively. And then next one, I will demonstrate about the tech industry. So tech industry, for example, Apple, they actually do recycle the old iPhones and try to recover and also reproduce. And they also use the recycled aluminum for the Apple products. And they also will ensure the product will last longer. So normally for those who use iPhone or use MacBook can use many years. Because for me, I also have my own MacBook and I use for at least 10 years already. So you can see that it lasts very long. And the reality is that Apple, because every year they still have to produce new product like iPhone 14, iPhone 15, iPhone 16. So actually they not really can comply with the circular economy principle. This is the reality. But the rhetoric is that actually Apple, they keep branding themselves, they are environmentally responsible. Not sure whether you see the video that say that they are very environmentally conscious, but in reality, also because they always produce the new product, so they not really able to achieve their long-term circular economy goals. So you can see there is dilemma from there. For the third case study, I will use H&M as the example. So H&M, they also encourage the customer to return the old clothes for recycling, and then also they aim to produce the clothes with the recycled materials, and also they have the circular design strategy whereby it can be reused, recycled, or biodegradable. But is this the case for H&M? Actually, in reality, is that the recycling problem, they only manage to cover a small percentage of material. So in the end of the day, most of the clothes normally is produced with the new materials. So this one is their reality. And rhetoric is that H&M always say that they want to recycle the old clothes, but actually because they always have to produce the new design for the clothes, so actually it's also hard for them to recycle the clothes effectively. And then next one I would like to show is Nestle. Nestle, I believe, you know that they also really advocate in terms of reducing the plastic waste, but in reality it's very difficult for them because recycling infrastructure in some of the countries are still not that efficient. In Malaysia, we also can see that we have the recycle bin. But after recycle bin, what is the next step to further recycle the item? This ecosystem is not there. So basically, Nestle also have some challenges in recycling the necessary product. And also, because it's like the infrastructure is not there, so the actual progress can be a bit slower. So we can see there is the gap between the corporate commitment and also on the ground result. So this is for Nestle. And next one, after the global case study, I will show the local case study. One of them is Bentasfora, is petroleum refineries industry. They do have some initiative whereby they will collect and process used industrial oils and lubricants and convert them into variable fuel oil. And also they focus on the hazardous waste management to support a closed loop system in industrial process. And they will partner with different industrial players such as automotive and manufacturing sector to reduce the waste footprint. So what is the reality for Bentasfora is that actually they managed to have a successful model for waste to resources conversion. But the rhetoric is that because sometimes if you want to do more in terms of like recycling the reusable oil, you also need to have the scalability, but for now they have the problem in terms of scalability, and they also not really can handle the large volume of waste or other types of industrial waste at the moment. And then the last case study I would like to show is Cloth Care. So this is also from the textile industry. they did manage to collaborate with retail players across Malaysia, and the initiative is to collect pre-loved clothing and transform into new product or recycle the fibers. And they also managed to partner with community and brands to show them they are actually responsible in waste reduction. So basically, in reality, is that they do show the commitment they want to close the loop in the textile industry. But the rhetoric is that the scale of the cloth care operation is small, so they not really can handle the textile waste at the moment. After the company initiative, I would like to dive into Johor circular economy. So for Johor, recently they have some initiatives such as the drive-through recycling initiative. Not sure whether some of you are aware of this, but this is organized by Johor Bahru City Council this year. And there is palm fiber oil extraction plant, whereby this is part of the Johor Plantation Waste to Wealth initiative to recycle the palm oil product. But actually, there are some challenges with the local industry players because there is lack of funding in terms of the recycling plants or the waste to energy system. And also some industry players, they also no idea how to integrate the circular economy into their operation. And also the enforcement can be inconsistent because sometimes the Johor state government, they do have the policy, but in reality, whether this rule has been enforced to the company is not so clear. And also, Johor in general still have low consumer awareness, so basically it hampers the effort in terms of circular economy. For the national perspective, recently Malaysia government did launch about the Ekonomi Kitaran Bagi Sisa Bekerja di Malaysia and also circular economy policy framework for the manufacturing sector. But whether these blueprints are enough or not, actually not necessary because we still need to have the implementation to happen. So one of the challenges for Malaysia now is there are a lot of blueprints, but the implementation of circular economy is still not there. And the recycling and waste management infrastructure is still underdeveloped. It's like we still not really have the ecosystem to combine together. And also some of the corporate, they feel that why they have to do that, there will be a lot more costs for me to do if I do circular economy. And also the incentive for business to transition to circular economy is inadequate, so that's why it hinders some of the company to take action in circular economy. So the national and the Johor State is a bit similar in terms of their challenges, but let us look into the international perspective and see how Malaysia perform. So you can see from this chart that basically Malaysia is still far behind from the regional players. Because for Malaysia, you see the circular material use rate is quite low, and the jobs created from circular economy is still quite low as well. But if you see another country, for example, like Finland, Sweden, Japan, Germany, and France, they do more circular economy initiative than Malaysia. So this is what Malaysia can learn more from there. Actually, for this slide, I also sum up some of the circular economy initiative that done by Sweden, Japan, Germany, and France. So for Sweden, they have the waste to energy system, whereby they will recycle almost all of the household waste and make the waste to convert into energy. And also the tax incentive for repairs on the household item and electronic, which will promote the reuse and reducing waste in consumer products. And next one is Japan. Japan basically, they are really developed in terms of the recycling infrastructure, whereby they emphasize on reduce, reuse, and recycle to ensure that there is resource efficiency and waste reduction. And they also have the circular economy in electronic, like Toyota, actually they focus on design the product for disassembly, repair and recycling, and reduce the resource extraction. For Germany, there is Circular Economy Act, whereby it can further prioritize the waste prevention, reuse and recycling. And they have the green dot system, whereby they encourage more companies to design recycle packaging. And lastly, for France, you also can see similar pattern compared to Germany, whereby they also have the law and the regulation to further enforce in terms of circular economy. So for France, they aim to phase out single-use plastic by 2040 and promote repair and reuse across the industry. And also the right to repair. They introduce a repairability index for electronics, encouraging manufacturers to design easily repairable products. So these are some of the initiatives. So after we look into the company, Johor, national and also international perspective, what the company can do more in order to balance rhetoric with accountability. Just now, the keynote address actually mentioned about independent third-party audit and also transparent sustainability reporting. This one actually I agree, because we basically need the specific KPI to report on the circular economy initiative. And also, we need to ensure that what we report in the sustainable reporting is accurate and verifiable, and also it will be verified by the third party, so to claim that this company actually is doing a lot in terms of circular economy initiative. But beside of that, what more the company can do, especially in Johor, to increase the circular economy adoption? First, we can leverage the digital technologies like AI, Internet of Things, and data analysis, and also lean manufacturing practices to enhance operational efficiency and reduce waste. Second is to have the cross-sector partnership, whereby this green legacy Johor already happened. We have government, company, and NGO come in to support in order to create a greater impact. And third one is education and training program to enhance the understanding in terms of circular economy initiative, because sometimes it's like there is this concept about circular economy, but if let's say the employee not really aware why this circular economy initiative is important to the company, then it's hard for the company to implement moving forward as well. And just now, the keynote address also mentioned about consumer and corporate. But to me, I think not only these two areas, we also need another stakeholder to work together. So for example, NGO, they can advocate towards campaign, petition, and also public feedback. So it can force the company to take action. And for the regulator and the policy maker, they need to set more clear policy and standard, and also enforcing compliance and penalties, so that the company will be more motivated to comply and also implement some circular economy initiative. And another one is the academic and research institution, because there are some professor who can like analyze the circular economy initiative. So it will be good for the industry players and also the government to take the academia input in order to make the policy recommendation to be more inclusive. And lastly is the media, because if the media not shaping good perception on circular economy, then it's hard to motivate the people to do more in circular economy. But if let's say the media, they mention some of the good things about circular economy, then people will be more aware and they will try to do something about it. So basically, to conclude, I think the corporation must move beyond just to understand about circular economy principle, but we also need to ensure that it will come from the product design until the end production process. And this also can be integrated between employee and employer perspective. That's all for my presentation. Thank you. If you have any further question, you can connect me through LinkedIn. My QR code is here. Thank you so much.
Right. Once again, thank you very much to Ms. Amanda Yeo, Event Director of ESG Malaysia. Right. Of course, we know for a fact that some companies actually, claim that they actually recycle, repurpose, but the actual fact, rhetoric and things like that. So the question that I have for you from our audience from Sky says that recycling activities may incur huge costs for industry player, but how can they benefit from economically from this?
All right, so I totally understand that in short term there will be more cost for the recycling activities, but if you think of the long-term perspective, it's like once you have the infrastructure and the system in place, then basically you can make the recycling effort to be more effective, and you also feel that you can see that it's a long-term benefit.
Right, and one more question. In the oil industry company, how can we implement circular economy in oil industry? Oil storage.
So for this one, it's like you can see from your supply chain, like where you source the product, and also for the oil, it's like you can see the component as well. So it's like you can see from the supply chain perspective, and also the stakeholder that you deal with, because normally if you produce the oil, you will also deal with outsider supplier in order to make the production happen. So if you deal with outside supplier and understand what is the source coming from, then it will be easier to implement.
Right. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, let's give Ms. Amanda Yeo, Event Director of ESG Malaysia, a big round of applause for that very enlightening corporate circular economy claims, reality versus rhetoric. Right, of course, especially right now, you have all these fancy words, right, that claim that they are, repurpose, recycle. For instance, at one time I remember a spectacle is called a spectacle. Now it is called eyewear. A shoe is called a shoe. Now it's called footwear. For ladies, we used to call it handbag. Now it is called carrywear. All these fancy words, right. Having said that, ladies and gentlemen, please also join me in welcoming our second speaker, technology specialist, Dr. Lee Yong Xiang, Senior Lecturer, University Malaysia, Pahang, up on stage. Let's give him a big round of applause.
Okay, good morning everyone. Okay, so I hope everyone have a good day. Okay, so thank you for GLJ for inviting me to this summit. Okay, so today's topic is also corporate circular economic claims, reality versus rhetorics. Okay, so as what Amanda has addressed just now. Okay, so my name is Lee Yong Xiang. Okay, so I'm currently a senior lecturer from University Malaysia Pahang, Al Sultan Abdullah. And currently my main research is focusing in circular economy, okay, in construction industry. Okay, so can everyone look at these statistics? Okay, so as mentioned, you can see that linear economy is still holding the majorities. Okay, everyone keeps claiming about circular economy. Okay, my company has done a lot of efforts on circular economy, but if you can see that this statistic is 91.4% is still using linear economy. Okay, it's only less than 10% is practicing circular economy. Okay, so from the past, when we are small, we keep educated by our parents. What's about 3Rs, right? Everyone knows about 3Rs, right? Recycle, reduce, and then? Yeah, okay, recycle, we have reduce, recycle, reuse. Okay, so those are the 3Rs. Okay, so now I would like to introduce the new R strategies, which are 10Rs. Okay, so 10Rs has actually 3 stages. Okay, the first stages is actually design stage. We have refuse, rethink, and reduce. Okay, the second stage is consumption phases, which we have reuse, repair, refurbish, remanufacture, and also repurpose. Okay, and the last one will be recycle and recover. Okay, so if you cannot fulfill all these 10 Rs, you will definitely move to landfill. Okay, which is the very last stage that we don't want to go into. Okay, so these are the new strategies. Okay, 10R strategies that we can use to eliminate the waste and maximizing the resource allocations. Okay, so the goal of circular economy is to minimize the environmental impacts, economics, and also social impacts. Okay, so these are the 3 pillars of sustainability. Okay, but if you can notice that everyone keep talking about green, environmental, okay, but we are lacking of social impacts especially. Okay, because everyone keep talking about green, how to reduce the environmental impacts, you know, how to go green, okay? But what about social impacts? What about economic impacts? Okay, so there are 2 important pillars as well. So later I'm going to discuss in the following slide as well. Okay, corporate claims of circular economy. Nowadays, we can hear that many companies claims that they actually use Go Green, okay, the green labels, and then we have use of recycled materials. For example, like what Amanda addressed just now, like the Apple products, H&M, okay. We always influenced by this advertisement, okay. Like they already go green, everything is green, okay, in H&M, in Apple. Okay, but the reality is that there are still a lot of efforts that the big companies can do to go for circular economy. Okay, so they also commitment to zero waste. Okay, they also promote in a way that they commit to zero waste and the product redesigns for longer life. Okay, so the reality is that these claims are overstated and is not impactful. Okay, as mentioned just now. Okay, so if you can see from the statistic, globally there are actually less than 10%, okay, of the products are actually part of the circular economy. Okay, so many companies actually claims on the PR, okay, writing on the papers, okay, advertisement, papers, you can see a lot of social medias, they say that go green, okay, we have incorporate all the sustainability issues, okay, but what about the realities, okay? So we're going to look at what are the challenges that actually face for the circular economy implementation is that lack of transparency, okay? So everyone just have the paper and then all the statistics is over the paper. But what about the transparency? Okay, did they go through the third-party accreditations, okay, or certifications? Okay, like what previous speakers has mentioned just now. Okay, let's look at a few case studies. Okay, the first one will be the fashion industry. Okay, so for example, the fashion industry claims that they have circularity through the recycling program. Okay. And you can see that majority is still ends up in landfills. If you look at these diagrams, okay, all the clothes actually they have the 73%, okay, goes to the landfill. Okay, it's still very high percentage. Okay, it's only 27% is really go for the recycling, but still 73%. Okay, as what mentioned, because they're still producing the new clothes. Okay, everyone like new fashion. Okay, so we need to wear new clothes during any festivals. Okay, we need to buy new clothes. So there are still 73% go to landfill. Okay, secondly, for electronic industry, okay, the tech companies claim circularity. Okay, for example, like Apple. Okay, so many products are hard to recycle actually in reality. Okay, and then if you look at this number, the e-waste in the numbers, okay, the weight of the e-waste is actually equal to the weight of 350 Queen Mary 2 ships. Okay, so this one you can search how many that weighs. It's about 79,000 tons, okay, for a ship. So you can imagine that the weight of the e-waste is actually 350 of these crucial ships. Okay, so you can imagine how many e-waste we have produced. Okay, because now everyone is using smartphone, laptops, okay, all the electronic device. Okay, it's a compulsory, okay, for everyone, right? Everyone is holding the phone. Okay, so you can see that also we created a lot of waste from this e-waste. Okay, so these are the statistics. Okay, what about in construction industry? Okay, so if you look into these three figures, okay, the natural resources extractions, up to the date we have 30% already extracted, okay, from the natural resources that we want to reserve for our next generations, okay? And also the solid waste generation is 25%. Okay, so for example, if anyone been to, I think a lot of places, for example, like in Penang, okay, so the landfill is actually getting higher and higher, okay? And we cannot do anything with this landfill, okay? They are actually become a mountain, okay, higher and higher, but then you cannot do anything. You cannot convert it into building projects. You cannot convert it into infrastructure projects. And it actually leads to a huge mountain that you cannot do anything. Okay? So those are the solid waste generations. Okay? And also contribute to 37% of global warming. Okay? And this is very worrying for all of us. Okay? So because we want to reserve for next generation. Okay? We want to, for next generation, maybe we want to have a better, you know, like new buildings and infrastructure projects. But if you use up all the natural resources, you can imagine that there's no more houses using the cement or the concrete, for example. Okay, so we also carry out a lot of studies. So these are the unique success factors to contribute to circular economy. Okay, so if you can see, the first one is the university-industry collaboration. Okay, this is very important. Nowadays, we can see that the gaps between universities and also industry is getting smaller and smaller. Okay, because we do a lot of efforts. Okay, we try to incorporate, we try to see what are the problems that industry face. Okay, and we try to come up with a lot of research initiative to help company to develop the curriculum development. Okay, because those graduates are going to work in your company later, right? So they are going to help you in the research of circular economy as well. And then the second is the positive willingness to pay, WTP. Okay, so because a lot of company, okay, they are not willing to pay first. Okay, because if you want to go for circular economy, okay, you need to invest. Okay, you need to invest certain amount of money. Okay, so for example, the infrastructure to recycle, okay, to reduce, to reuse. So those are the costs that you need to invest. Okay, but for long-term investment, you'll come in the returns. Of course, it's not like in 1 day, 2 days, you can get the return. But maybe in 5 years, 10 years. So that's what we targeted. Okay, and also, for example, the sustained growth, expansions, and in-house R&D. Okay, so I also noticed that in Malaysia, okay, a lot of companies still lacking of R&D department. Okay, which is very crucial because if we want to implement circular economy, we need to have this R&D department to assist the company to see the future directions and see what we can do with circular economy. For example, like the products. Okay, so when we want to purchase the product, is the product fulfilling the R principles? Okay, so these are all the success factors that we have. Okay, I just raised a few examples. Okay, next is the social indicators. Okay, so based on our research team's findings, these are the social indicators for CE framework. Okay, so for example, the engagement. Okay, the engagements of the community, and then the stakeholder participations, and especially the public awareness. Okay, public need to know what is circular economy. okay, so that they know how to implement. Okay, how do we implement? We know about circular economy, but how are we going to implement? Okay, what are the strategies? What are the procedures? Where we can refer? Okay, all these are very important. So that's why I mentioned just now, one of the indicators for circular economy is social indicators. Okay, and we also have quality of life, for example, the social well-being and stability. Okay, we want to live in circular economy. Okay, we want to live in the era of circularity. Okay, for example. And then the attraction, the public image, of course, the job creations, and also the investment generations. Okay, all these are the social indicators. And next are the strategies to integrate these social indicators into CE framework. So we can see that how can we integrate. Okay, so for example, the equity and inclusions. Okay, so all workers, okay, in the companies, they need to know, okay, they have the right to know what the policies of CE, what are the strategies. So this is very important. Okay, and the regulatory policy. Okay, how do we implement? Okay, we always work closely with the policies, the strategies. Okay, and then the last one, last but not the least, is the transparency. Okay, the trust and accountability. Okay. Okay, so we're going to look at the circular economy in Malaysia claims. Okay, so initiative is actually aligned with the national policies. Okay, so for example, we have Green Building Index, we have Green Highway Index. Even if I've worked with CIDB, we actually have the Sustainable Infrastructure. Okay, so those are the rating tools that we have actually to go for circular economy. Okay, but the issue is that the implementation, okay, as mentioned. Okay, because all these companies, they always claims, okay, they have aligned with this policy, they have aligned with Green Building Index, for example, GBI. Okay, but what's the reality? Okay, so they also claim waste to energy programs, sustainable packaging, recycling initiative. Okay, but what actually, are they really in circular economy or only part of the circular economy? Okay, I'm not saying that the company doesn't have any effort. They're already showing a lot of efforts. In fact, in Malaysia, we actually have developed a lot of circular economy related policies. Okay, and also the roadmap towards zero single-use plastics. Okay, so we actually make a lot of efforts. Okay, but we are trying to progress more to more. Okay, so if you can see from these schedules, okay, the reality, the quantity of scheduled waste generated by industry in Malaysia, 2022 in kilotons. So you can see from power plant, okay, there are 2,026 kilotons. Okay, and then electricals and electronics, 695 kilotons, and sums out to 5,915 kilotons. Okay, it's still a lot. Okay, so these are the potential to maximize the CE efforts in this industry. Okay, so this is the breakdown of the scheduled waste in Malaysia. Okay, so the challenges is that we have limited infrastructures. Okay, for large-scale recycling. Okay, but I can see that like Johor, they have actually initiated a lot of recycling program, the advanced systems for recycling. Okay, and then the lack of strict enforcement of policies, inconsistency, supply chain transparencies, and you can see that the waste recycling rate is still very low. It's only 35.38%, okay, up to the date. But actually has doubled up compared to 2015, it's about 17%, okay? But we are progressing now. Okay, so what Malaysia's actually initiative is that we have the National Circular Economy Roadmap. Okay, the national green technology policies have been introduced. Okay, and recently you can see the ministers of housings. Okay, also introduced the blueprint for circular economy. Okay, so the challenges is that the policy implementation gaps. Okay, so like mentioned, we always have a lot of policies, strategies, but the implementation is still lacking. Okay, so if you can see that these are the key policies in Malaysia, okay, up to the date, we have like RMK 12, okay, also mentioning about CE, Okay, all the policy mentioning about CE, for example, national energies, Malaysia Plastic Sustainability Roadmap. So all incorporate CE into these policies. Okay, so these are the roadmaps that you can refer to. Okay. Okay, greenwashing against genuine circularity. Okay, so many companies actually exaggerated. Okay, they always excited. They say that I've go green, I have all the labelings. Okay, but in fact, that they are only tiny percentage. Okay, even they recycle a bit of the product, maybe less than 10%, but they claims that their products all are recyclable, right? So the energy efficiency also claims that they ignore the life cycle impacts. Okay, so that's why, how do we identify whether they are greenwashing or not? Is that we look for transparency in data and also third-party verifications. Okay? We really need the transparency in data, and then everyone can click on that, and then everyone can see the statistic. Okay? Whether this company is really greenwashing or is the real circularity. Okay? We can actually check on that. So I hope that this will be coming soon. Okay, so moving from rhetorics to reality. Okay, so we encourage more transparency and third-party verifications. Okay, this is needed. Like for example, like now CIRIM also doing certification for ESG. Okay, CIRIM 55. And then to shift focus from recycling to reducing consumption. So that's why just now I mentioned, instead of 3R, okay, now we are moving to 10Rs. Okay, we need to educate and give awareness to your kids, your next generations, what is about 10Rs. Okay, so this is the statistics for Malaysia is still lacking, okay, as addressed by Amanda just now. So the statistic is still showing that Malaysia is still very low in terms of circularity, okay, which we need to make a lot of efforts. Okay, in fact, like Europe, they actually have circular economy specialist program. Okay, so they actually implement and give a lot of awareness. Okay, the efforts are there. Okay, I believe Malaysia can do so. Okay, and then the role of consumers and NGO as well. Okay, so everyone need to give cooperative. Okay, how we actually can include the transparencies and buying from generally circular businesses. Okay, so the key takeaways, many corporates, circular economy claims shortfall of realities. Actually, we have significant gaps, okay, between implementations and the infrastructures. Okay, as mentioned, we have a lot of strategies, policies, but then we still have a big gaps of implementations. Okay, so I think nowadays what we can do is that how we can see all these implementation going on, how we monitor the implementation. Okay, because we have so many strategies. Like if you are talking about green, we have GHI, GBI, MICRES, all the carbon emissions strategies. But what about the implementations? Okay, this is very important. Okay, so I think the collective actions from governments, corporations, and consumers are very important to turn the rhetorics to reality. Okay, so this is one quote that I like the most about circular economy. So if we could build an economy that would use things rather than use them up, okay, we could build a futures. Okay, by Paul McCartney. Okay, so hopefully by end of the days, you will educate your next generations, your kids about 10Rs. No longer 3Rs. Now the popular new terms is 10Rs. Okay, so I hope you enjoy the slide. And then if you have any questions, any collaborations, you can let me know. Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Dr. Lee. However, Dr. Lee, we do have questions over here. And, well, I agree with you. I like Peter Paul McCartney quotation there, all right. The question we have is two-part. Number one is, can urban mining in construction be claimed as circular economy? Can urban mining means, all right? Yeah. And the second question, if so, can EPR incentivize the industry, including SME, or so they can transfer to circular economy immediately?
Okay, definitely yes. Urban mining also can have circular economy. As the claims is that you have to look into the, for example, you can use the 10R strategies to look into your products, okay, you can see what are the strategies, okay? When you actually want to design, okay, how do you go for the process of urban mining, okay, you can look at 3 different phases, okay, in the 10 R's, okay? First, maybe you can refuse, okay, what you don't want to do, okay? And then maybe you can rethink what you can do, and then maybe you can reduce, okay, what you can reduce from there. Because sometimes the environmental impacts we cannot eliminate, okay? We only can reduce, okay? So we can see all the strategies are helping you to guide you, okay, for the urban mining. And for the SME also the same, okay? Look at your products and services that you actually come up with, okay? And then try to incorporate all the R strategies that possible, okay? And then the implementation, and then we see the end results, okay? So if let's say, for example, if you are investing one product, you're not looking at the product only whether it can recycle, but what about the infrastructures, okay, of producing these products? Okay, so the infrastructures also, you need to look into that, whether it can be recycled or not, or whether it can be reduced, or maybe it can be refurbished, okay, into other things, for example. Yeah.
All right, this question is from Sky. Goes like, with all initiative to create public awareness on recycling, what is the percentage of consumers' readiness in Malaysia for implementation of the circular economy?
Sorry, pardon, yeah.
With all the incentives to create public awareness, all right, what are the, well, there goes my question over there. Okay, we have very simple question. Is EPR the same as circular economy?
Okay,
Is EPR same as circular economy?
I think it's a bit different. Circular economy is a more holistic approach, okay? And then, yeah, it's more a holistic approach compared to the previous one, yeah.
Right. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, let's give Dr. Lee Yong Xiang, Senior Lecturer, University of Malaysia, Pahang, a big round of applause for that very enlightening, shall I say, topic, which actually reality versus rhetoric. Right, stay tuned because we have yet another interesting presentation entitled Roots and Shoal, the essential contributions of mangroves and seagrasses to the marine biodiversity, coming up in just a bit. There's a lot of the things that's happening, all right, and I guess, you know, one of the 2 speakers actually mentioned about, you know, Apple, things like that. And I know for a fact that the first computer mankind has ever owned is owned by Adam and Eve. And it's called Apple. Just with one bite, it comes crashing down. And of course, also mentioned some of earlier on by Miss Amanda that, you know, some of the companies actually claim to do what they call that recycle, but in reality they actually do the other word, right? The other thing. And of course, we can actually, as a consumer, we can actually question our right. For instance, if we claim that, okay, whether this is authentic or not, all right, you can actually do your case probably with the KPDN, KK, or what if not, to verify whether the claim of, recycle or repurpose is actually authentic or not, right? And of course, IKEA is one of the things that they said. And of course, very interesting about IKEA, you know, the founder of IKEA, Ingvar Kamprad, actually drive his Volvo 240 for about 20 over years. When somebody says to him that his Volvo is no longer safe, then he purchased another car. So I can understand why, you know, IKEA very much into, recycle and repurpose, things like that. And of course, for us, you know, as a layman, I also encourage, especially in terms of furniture, if we can repurpose some of our furniture, it could be a fabulous thing rather than dumping it, you know, the dumping ground, or, you know, those are going to build up. So if we can actually repurpose, because some of the furniture that our father or our grandfather used to have are of good quality material, you know, a thick wood, you know, which is hard to find, You have, of course, Chengai is also very hard to come by nowadays. So if you can actually repurpose, that would actually be very helpful, as being mentioned by Dr. Lee. In times to come, there's no more 3R, but perhaps there will be 10R, right? And of course, coming up, like I said earlier on, we're going to have yet another interesting topic, which is root and shoal, the essential contributions of mangroves and seagrasses to the marine biodiversity. Right, ladies and gentlemen, we shall continue with our next interesting topic and workshop. And for this, I would like to invite our moderator, yang berusaha Encik Akram Shah Sanusi. Let's give him a round of applause. Thank you, sir. And we also like to invite our speakers to join us on stage. Yang berusaha Dr. Ahmad Aldre Amir, Institute of Environment and Development Lestari, Universiti Kebangsaan Malaysia, and Dr. Rozaimi, Associate Professor, Department of Earth Sciences and Environment, Universiti Kebangsaan Malaysia. Dipersilakan. Right, Tuan Akram Shah, the floor is yours.
Okay, Assalamualaikum and good morning everyone. I'm glad that we actually have a good turnout today for what we on stage are very passionate about. So thanks so much also Mr. Chairman of the event. Will be helping us with the Q&As later. So my name is Akram Shah Sanusi. I'm here wearing my Global Mangrove Alliance hat. So the Global Mangrove Alliance is actually an international alliance of people passionate about conservation of mangrove. We have 11 chapters, of which Malaysia is among the newest. And today we are actually very pleased to have been invited to assist in this session under the Johor Legacy event with two very, very prestigious academicians in the area of what we call blue carbon or rather the blue conservation sensitive areas in the world. The first I'd like to introduce is Dr. Adri Amir, who is actually rather famous in the mangrove community because he has fully utilized social media in the efforts of conservation of mangrove. He is also ever present in many mangrove forums worldwide, be it in Colombia, be it in the Americas. He's very exposed in Africa as well, and of course in our region. Dr. Adri is from UKM, one of the leaders in that university in this area under the Lestari group, and at the same time he has actually passed out of a similar background also to our other guest, Dr. Rozaimi. So Dr. Rozaimi is actually, interestingly, I just found out from him that they are only a month apart in age. which is quite fascinating, I found. So it seems that we have a very strong generation of people involved in conservation. Dr. Zami is, whilst mangroves are very much on the shoreline, those of us who are actually very familiar with it, seagrass actually is the expertise of Dr. Zaimi, and he actually is focusing on areas just off the shoreline that makes up that ecosystem that is shorelines across. And in Johor, of course, is quite fascinating because Dr. Zaimi has actually had quite a lot of work done in Johor specifically with regards to the seagrass because of the richness of seagrass biodiversity here. And also the relative risk of seagrass being affected by development. And we hope to have a lot of sharing from both the gentlemen. They today represent UKM, University Kebangsaan Malaysia, which may not be so well known to many people as being a center for conservation, but is increasingly showing their presence, not just in Malaysia, but internationally. I found it also amusing to find out, to note that both of them were actually Australian trained, with Dr. Adri passing out from University of Queensland and Rozaimi coming out from University of Edith Cowan. So we hope in their presentations they would be able to showcase that expertise and also the real value that we can actually attain from conservation and recovery, regeneration of our mangrove as well as our seagrass acreages in Malaysia. Thank you. So may perhaps, Dr. Adri, would you like to begin? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Akram. I didn't realize that you know too much about me and Rozaimi already. And I just whispered, I actually totally forgot about my birthday and Dr. Rozaimi's birthday. His birthday was yesterday. So a big hand for the birthday boy. And please clap again on 6th of November, that's my birthday. All right. So thank you very much for the invitation, Mr. Akram and Puan Norita on behalf of Global Mangrove Alliance, and of course, Puan Hamiza, where are you? And of course, Johor Green Legacy Summit for having both me and Dr. Rozaimi for this session. I'm so glad to see Prof. Noaini here, my friend Sri Dharan there, and perhaps many more familiar faces as well. All right, so my job today is to convince all of you of how important mangroves are and how it is important for Johor in particular to protect whatever mangrove that have left here in this very beautiful state. So I will highlight mainly on the ecosystem services because this is the selling point. This is the key points that you need to understand and then plan actions to protect mangroves in Johor in particular. I highlight this point, mangroves as planet's carbon powerhouse. This is basically known already, and this has been proven by not just one or two research, but hundreds, possibly thousands already after 12 to 15 years of studying and identifying the huge amount of carbon in the soil of mangrove. You can ask a bit more further, or you can listen to Dr. Rozaimi later. He will explain about how he identify or quantify carbon in mangrove and seagrasses in Malaysia. But this is to point out this three major ecosystems are known at the moment as the blue carbon, but we are exploring other habitats, other ecosystem within the coastal environment to also be included in as blue carbon. So how? How does mangrove become so efficient in absorbing carbon? So we all know, I'm pretty sure, any one of you absorb carbon dioxide in this room? Raise your hands. No? So what do you absorb? You with the glasses. Oxygen, good, correct. Possibly some methane as well? No? Later we will, in a couple more years, you will realize there are other greenhouse gases that are very crucial, that are very actually dangerous to the planet, not just carbon dioxide, not just the increase. So we know only green plants absorb carbon dioxide. But of all green plants in the world, there are some that can do it better. In this case, what we know now, mangroves are one of the most efficient carbon absorber. Why? Why? Because they have to work very hard, living in this extreme condition, living in the coastline, in a tidal environment, where they have window opportunity, very small window opportunity to absorb carbon dioxide, for example. Of course, they can do that during daytime. But then, for their physiological growth, they need oxygen. And they don't have enough oxygen in the soil. So what they do, they absorb it during low tide. And then a couple of hours later, high tide. They have to work hard to absorb water and nutrient, right? So these hard working, this hard, like extreme condition, pushes them to work harder. So by working very hard, they become very productive at the same time. And not just the plants. So this is the highlight of my presentation today. It's not just the plants, it's the co-working in between plants and other organisms within the habitat. So not just, plants define habitats basically. But then in an ecosystem, it's not just the home for plants, but also home for animals, microorganisms, as well as home for a lot of physical activities happening. In this case, as we all know, trees, like us, we are all organic matter. So, and then the content is carbon, mainly carbon. So when we know that from green leaves, they turn brown, and then they turn yellow, and then they turn brown, and then they drop on the floor, on the top of the soil. So in normal circumstances on terrestrial land, they have to wait. These leaves, solid carbon, basically, the whole brown thing, solid carbon. They have to wait for bacteria to deteriorate them, and then to become, and that's why we get very fertile soil on land. But in mangroves, that doesn't happen, because tides come in and out, and then it will take away the leaves. So what happens is, crabs, for example, they feed on these leaves, and then not just feeding on them, but some of them get greedy also. Just like you all, buffet, supposedly makan satu pinggan, you eat more than one plate, right? And then some put in pockets. So, like crab also, they will take this leaf into the soil. So imagine carbon, before they turn yellow and brown, they will kick back all the nutrient back to the trees. So leaving carbon falling down on the floor, straight away go to the soil. So this is how some of the scientists discovered how efficient mangroves are in absorbing or sequestering carbon. And mind you, like I told you earlier, it's not just mangrove, it's not just seagrass occurring on our coastline. There are other types of habitats and ecosystems as well. So we are still exploring other types of habitats and ecosystem as blue carbon. And look at this beautiful picture. It's actually within the border of Johor, in between Pahang and Johor, in the archipelago, Tioman archipelago. So this is an example of how, if you protect mangrove, leave it pristine as possible, we can understand the dynamic process happening. In this place, you can expect to see mangrove expands, mangrove forest. I mean, these used to be like small pocketed islands long time ago, but they are now connected by mangroves, showing that mangrove can build land. But at the same time, when sea level rises, they will retreat. They can retreat, and that's happening a lot on our west coast of Peninsular Malaysia. And at the same time, they can be elevated as well. If you have sediment, a lot of sediment coming from land, they will be elevated. And you can see some spots with coconut trees and stuff like that. So meaning they are slightly elevated. And then they can be subsided as well. So that happens a lot on our coastline. This is to show on how dynamic they are. And they can create new islands. So this is another interesting thing about mangrove. But then, by doing this, they actually act like, I mean, they are just normal plants actually. They like other plants on land, they require a lot of water, a lot of nutrients, a lot of sunlight. But why do they do this? Why do they live or grow on coastline with extreme conditions, right? So one of the reasons, finally after 21 years of studying them, I come to a very early conclusion because I want to work, I mean, until the end of my days lah. But at the moment, what I realize, only one reason. They do this to provide for all of us, not just humans, but also to nature. And that explains ecosystem services. This is a video actually. I don't know if I can play it. But I'm pretty sure many of you have seen this. This is actually a demonstration, a simulation done by our friends at Delta Res to show the impact of tsunami. If you remember, if you were born before 2004, I'm pretty sure you will remember, or many look very young here, just like me. All right, but then another point to ponder is that why we highlight mangroves, why we highlight seagrasses, and why we highlight coral reef most of the time. Because mangrove and coral reef, for example, are the signature habitat of the tropics. We can only find them here, in Malaysia, in Indonesia, basically in that circle in the West Pacific. This is where we get the greatest number of species of mangrove, as well as area of mangrove as well. This is the old world, on this side. On that side, Atlantic East Pacific, they only have like 8-9 species of mangrove plants. Here we have more than 50, imagine, So there you go. This is another one of the key reasons why we have to protect them. And I want you to memorize that map just now and overlay it on this map. All right, last night, I couldn't sleep actually until 4 a.m. I was still awake, working on this slide one. But I was watching news. Hurricane Milton is attacking Florida now, right? So Florida is on the tropical side of the United States. But not just in the United States. Along the tropics, we have to entertain typhoons, hurricanes, monsoon. Every year we face monsoon, right? What else? All of these tropical storms, if you want to like collectively call them, happens in the tropics. So it's in the name, So overlay this map and this map. It's a signal already, right? I've discovered this, and I have to tell you, if you don't believe, this is a God-given, or nature's gift to all of us. So we have mangroves lining our belt, our tropical belt, our coastal belt, and we have all of these storms, tropical storms, nature disasters happening within this region. So it's the balance that we are looking for. So all of this topic of sustainability, when we speak about sustainability, of course we always highlight the human components, but this is the environment component that you need to understand. This is a balance that we are looking for. We've enjoyed it for many generations already, and now it's a time for us to fix all the damage. When I prepared these slides a couple of years ago, this particular slide, 2021 actually, so this typhoon was attacking India at that moment. Imagine India faces 12 to 13 typhoons a year. And then when I try to zoom into India, I notice on the border of India and Bangladesh, there lies the largest single piece of mangrove in the world. Yeah? So there is a very important connection there. Yeah? A lot of typhoons attacking, and then you have the largest mangrove in the world. And I zoom in further into Sundarbans, and I realize, yeah, when you have this huge mangrove area, yeah, this will allow the habitat, yeah, the ecosystem, to host, to make home for a huge apex predator like the Royal Bengal tiger. Yeah, they live in the mangrove in India and Bangladesh. Imagine, Royal Bengal tiger. So if you have huge area of mangrove, you can host a huge apex predator like that, and then you can, yeah, it becomes home for the food of this apex predator, and it provides home for the food of the apex predator. So that's the point of protecting. Yeah, not just human-centric, we have to think about the ecocentric side of protection of mangroves. So this is very important. And not just highlighting about India, I zoom in into smaller patches of mangrove in the world, and you can find all of this beauty. Yeah, imagine, I mean, just now the Seribuat Island, right? You can dive, you can snorkel in clear water mangrove. You can actually snorkel with rays, yeah, if you like. Yeah, but of course, in other places, in Johor mangrove in particular, in the south and the west side, it's always murky and cloudy waters. Yeah, but then, this is what we have. Yeah? We have lemon sharks, we have elephants in Indo-Chinese mangroves. Yeah? Where do you want to find the best seafood? Yeah, you will go to Pontian, yeah, you will go to Kukop, ke Tanjung Piai ke in Johor, or in Selangor, KL, people will go to Kuala Selangor, yeah, to Klang to get seafood, with the thinking of, okay, abundant and then cheaper, but not really nowadays. And then, of course, speaking of biodiversity, the connection in between bats. Yeah. So I mean, if I mention durian, bats, and mangrove in one line, does that make sense to you? Yeah. Oh, someone is nodding. So I don't know whether she's seen my presentation or my talk before, but I have to highlight this because if you like durian, I'm pretty sure you like durian, right? Or you not because I mentioned durian. Okay, who loves durian? Raise your hands. Okay. So I'm telling you, if you love your durian, if you want to protect your durian, and if you want to allow your durian to fruit every year, you have to protect mangroves. Because durian leaves, they bloom at night. Yeah? They bloom at night with pom-pom shape. Yeah, but then you have to remember, this is what I learned growing up. Now you can get durian all year long. I don't know how that happens. But durian fruits once a year, like maybe in February or March. Yeah? This is my last memory, February and March. And then they will fruit around August, September. Right? So they flower one time a year and they fruit later. So when they flower, the bats will come to feed on the pollen, on the nectar, and then at the same time will pollinate the flowers, the male and female flowers. So that's how a flower turns into fruits. But then, because this is their favorite, durian, the flowers are bats' favorite, insect bats' favorite. So, but then if they depend only on durian flowers, which flower only 1 or 2 months a year, they will starve the next 8 to 10 months, betul tak? Kan? So what they do, they go to the mangroves, because in mangrove, you have Soneraceae cassiolaris, for example, pokok berembang that flowers at night as well. They bloom at night with that pom-pom shape as well. So this is how the connection in between different habitats, different organisms. So if you want to protect your durian, suka makan durian, you have to protect your mangrove because mangrove are the alternative food for our friends there, our pollinator there. All right. So this is a very small, very one minute sector of biodiversity that you just heard from me. And there are more. And then, okay, many of you, I assume, because I asked Akram, I only have 15, maybe 20 minutes now, to highlight the importance of mangrove, which is huge, right? To a wide background of participants today. But then I will try my best to complete this by showing this, because I'm pretty sure many of you are maybe accountants, from what I heard, or developer maybe. So you may have different perspective when you look at this picture. Or do you have similar thinking with me? I don't know. But when I look at this, I see other things that you may not see. All right? Because when I took this photo, it was just before dusk, about maybe early 6:45, 6:30 p.m. But then I waited like half an hour later. It is actually home, for fireflies. Imagine just now, if you like a blunt developer, you simply see this view as super boring. You will say, why protect this? We better build resort. We better build houses for humans. But you must not forget, half an hour later, you will realize it's actually home for millions of creatures like this. And not just them. It's home for other animals, other fauna, and not just these big faunas. There are microorganisms as well, which are very important. Insects are very important. Borneo in particular, you have that very handsome guy hanging on the trees, on mangrove trees. And they live in the mangrove in Borneo, proboscis monkey. They are the icon. If you go to Sabah, everywhere you will find keychains, fridge magnets of proboscis monkey. And this is another strategy of marketing biodiversity. And of course, mud skipper. Go to your nearby mangrove today. The session will end after lunch. And then you just go visit your nearest mangrove and you will be greeted by this mud skipper. And there's a lot of story about mud skipper as well. The current name, we call it ikan belacak. But if you are old enough like me, watching black and white movie, you will remember ikan tembakul. So batu belah batu tangkup, right? The mother wanted to eat the egg of ikan tembakul, tapi kempunan. So that's another thing. And then of course, they are the R&R, important R&R. Imagine you drive from JB to Perlis, non-stop. Impossible kan? You need to go to bathroom, you need to find your best nasi lemak in maybe R&R Tapah ke, Gopeng ke, right? Same like birds. For generations, they have their favorite R&R, favorite stops. Like for example, from Siberia, flying to Australia, they will stop at our wetlands, at our mangrove. So imagine, Johor suddenly clear all their mangrove. These birds will still fly to find R&R Tanjung Piai. But there's no more mangrove, there's no more mud flats in Tanjung Piai. They will still fly to find. And in many occasions, they die in flight because of the loss of wetlands, coastal wetlands in particular. So that must be considered in our sustainability plan. So I highlighted all the animals, the insects just now, but mind you, this is home for the over 50 species that I mentioned earlier for mangrove in Malaysia. And you can see the clear zone there. This is very near, in Muar only. And I'm pretty sure it's almost a similar situation all across our coastlines. So the take-home message here is protect what we have left. This is an example from Matang. It is managed for charcoal production. But is this still sustainable? That's a huge question. We are still exploring. And we have this. These are done by our friends in FRIM. Latest survey on 2020 based on 2017 maps. And satellite imageries. This is a number that we have at the moment. Okay, memorize that number. But after this, there's quiz from me and Dr. Rozaimi. Okay, but then we only protect this much. And I mind you, this is only protected by National Forestry Act, and implemented by states within Peninsular Malaysia. But mind you, there are other laws, other regulations, other enactments, other ordinances, other policies related to mangrove. I've scanned through all of these documents and I found mangrove mentioned in all of them. So there are interests on mangrove by other policies as well and other laws. So, all right, and then as a country, Malaysia is a very friendly country, I don't know if you realize this, but we sign almost all multilateral environmental agreement available to be signed. So when we sign, we make promises, so we have to fulfill, okay? And then there are other ways to do that, not just having state laws, having federal laws and policies, but we can also promote, we can also list our protected areas or not yet protected areas into Ramsar sites, for example. We are stuck. Kita ada 7. We have 7 at the moment. 6 of them are mangroves. Yeah? But then we stop until KK wetlands, which is almost 2 decades already. Or maybe over 1 decade already. So where are the new Ramsar sites? Yeah? And we can also protect our mangrove by listing them as World Heritage Site, Man and Biosphere Reserve under UNESCO, or maybe more global geopark like Langkawi. So they may not be legally binding, but we have to support this with state laws or federal laws and then list them internationally. And there are other ways, other efforts done by me and my friends all around the country. And Prof. Nur Aini also possibly highlighted some of the efforts done by the country before. Okay, so now we have all these laws, we have all of these conservation efforts, but this still happens all around the country. Imagine aquaculture ponds, they don't need mangrove soil. But why mangrove become the, what do you call mangsa in English? Victim. Yeah, there you go. Why? Because this whole mangrove could have already provided for these communities for many generations already. So when you have that, it only benefits a handful of people. And then, after 6, 8, or maybe 10 years, that's the maximum I heard so far, the ponds will be abandoned. Imagine, because it's too much nutrient already, and then it's no longer efficient to sow stream of fish, right? And then, but the point I want to highlight here is that, when you cut mangrove trees, remember the very fast absorption that they can make for us will be gone. And then when you clear mangrove, when you clear the soil, you are actually exposing all of the stored carbon for hundreds and thousands and millions of years, in fact. Mangroves have been here in the world for more than 70 to 200 million years. They have evolved longer than our existence on the planet. So they know what they're doing, and we stupidly clear and then expose the soil. So imagine the stored carbon meets oxygen. Just now someone mentioned oxygen, kan? So C meets O2 becomes what? C plus O2. CO2 lah. Okay? So just now we were like very efficient in absorbing carbon. We are the champion actually. After Indonesia, in Southeast Asia, Malaysia. Malaysia is second in Southeast Asia with mangrove coverage. We can actually play that role, global role. But when we clear, we are actually polluting. We are actually contributing to climate change, to global warming. So this is what we are trying to avoid. And this is the thing that I've been whispering to leaders all around the country. Imagine allowing this kind of development. Where is the buffer zone? You promise buffer zone, you promise this and that. But imagine, mangrove is an intertidal area. This is the thing that maybe Dr. Rozaimi will also further explain later. Okay, look at this. If you allow this kind of development, you are actually welcoming disaster to you. Okay, mangrove lies in an intertidal area, meaning the highest high tide and lowest low tide. So if you have development like this, you are exposing yourself. You expect tides to come in every day, and you build this kind of development. And imagine, to maintain this kind of development, you have to use a lot of pesticide, herbicide, insecticide, and all of them will flow into this water, goes into your seafood, and you eat them. So this is the thing. And then managing land. You don't put landfill in intertidal area. Okay, it doesn't make sense, right? Tides come in and out. Even if you throw your cigarette butt here, right? Someone will, sapu, push it away, and then possibly go into your drain. And then Malaysia has a lot of rain. It's actually cloudy already outside. So later rain will carry your cigarette butt into a small channel. Channel goes into rivers. Rivers will go into mangrove forests. And this is what you get. Imagine, mangrove, they create propagules, and then the baby will straight away find soil to become new tree. But if this happens, how can they regenerate? How can the forest rejuvenate? Yeah? Right, so there you go. You know all of this already. I hope it is impacting you now from what I'm showing and I'm saying here. So the second message is restore. Restore or rehabilitate whatever we have. But we have to use brain lah. You don't want to build a ladang getah here. It looks like forest estate. And mind you, this is after 5 or 6 rounds of planting. And mind you again, this is a beach, for crying out loud. You don't want to turn a beach into mangrove, force them to do this, right? So use brain. And this is where me and fellow scientists keep asking, before you think of doing a planting activity, ask these questions. Ask. We want to restore, meaning restore, you find damaged area or disturbed area and turn it back into original forest, if possible. Or if you rehabilitate, you bring back all the services that they provide. You don't simply plant mangrove everywhere. They're not all palm trees. Where they can grow anywhere. All right? So some of the low-hanging fruits are abandoned aquaculture pond. So Johor State, go find all abandoned aquaculture pond and just break a little bit of wall, and the tides will allow for mangrove seedlings to come in. So take out your phone and download this document. This is very important, especially for corporate organizations. You want to carry out your ESG or CSR, do it with brain. I know you have money, but you don't simply throw your money into the drain. It's like, if you plant mangrove, this mangrove propagule, for example, this is one life. So if you put it in the wrong place, you're actually murdering it. You're not growing a tree. And then don't go on the news, hoo-ha, telling people that you plant 1 million trees, for example. What we want to know is how big a new forest being created by you, not how many seedlings you planted. Okay, so involve your community, involve your authorities, involve scientists around you. This is basically local communities. They kick out encroacher. Some developer came in, clear their mangrove, and then it's illegal, so they chased them away. And they came together and planted this. And then since 20 years ago, actually, tsunami happened 2004, a lot of efforts all around the tropics. And then, of course, people from engineering, people from technology background, you can also contribute in mangrove. And of course, in mangrove protection or mangrove conservation and management. And of course, political will. And this is what I have. Akram, please whisper to the YB you meet in the next, starting 1 minute from now, tell them of how important it is and tell them how to do it. And thank you again for Johor Green Legacy for having us, because what we are doing here, me and Rosaimi, is to change, to deliver some knowledge to you, because that knowledge will end up changing your perception and will change the way you make decision. And imagine tadi, just now I mentioned about carbon sequestration, it's just one from hundreds and thousands of services played by mangrove. And then many of us are now working on this, but I mind you, we need to fix the fundamental thing before going into this application thing. And it all boils down, falls down to these 4 points: the governance, operation, research, and participation. And of course, it's not just done by me and Dr. Rosaimi and Pro Noaini or Sri. Not just marine scientists, forestry ecologists, all of you are involved. All of you must be part of this. And I may miss some of you here, but this need another 20 lectures for me to explain each one of them and connection to mangrove. But you can scan this one as well to know, to understand, to take you on how all of this can be connected. The main thing is to change your mindset, and everything is connected. You live on the mountain, you're still connected to mangroves. And then, of course, from my slide, from just for 25 minutes. Sorry, Rosaimi. Okay, from these 25 minutes, I can easily tell you, mangrove protection, blue carbon initiative, coastal protection, links. to all 17 SDGs. Yeah? So we can discuss this a little bit longer later, or maybe you have to like invite me for a 1 to 2 hours lecture lah. It's unfair to do this in 20 minutes. Yeah? All right. So there you go. You can scan again both QR code to get connected with me, Dr. Rozaimi, and the rest of us. Yeah. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. Thank you, Prof. So let's not take too much of a pause. I'll welcome Prof. Rozaimi to take his turn in sharing with us the seagrass part of our blue carbon ecosystem. Thank you.
Thank you, Akram. Thank you, Dr. Aldri. So, let's see. All right. So yeah, thank you very much. Thank you to the organizers for inviting me to this very nice presentation. So I'm going to talk to you about seagrasses. Right. So yes, they are important. They are a part of the so-called blue carbon tree, salt marshes, mangroves, and seagrasses. Of course, that can be an academic question on its own. So anyway, my name is Rozaimi. I come from UKM too. So I am also the head of our marine science program. We do both research, teaching, advocacy from earth sciences and marine sciences. Okay, so the theme that I was asked to bring forward to you is about biodiversity. Okay, it's more about charisma, it's more about value, and I'll try to link the two as I tell you the story of how it panned about. Okay, so yes, seagrasses, they are underwater pastures of green. So we know that it's a plant, it can create vast meadows, large meadows. So the pictures that I've shown you here shows the different kinds of habitats that it can grow in. It can grow deeper in water. So the picture on the top left, I took it from our seagrass meadows from Pulau Tinggi, Johor. This was about 10 meters deep. It can also be growing in shallower waters. It can also grow in the intertidal area, whereby the seagrass can be exposed from submersion. Okay, depending on the tidal time, tidal regime. But it can also grow very close to mangroves. Okay, I'm not sure whether it's clear to you from back there, but these relatively small seagrasses, based on the scale of my fingers, so these are somewhat inconspicuous and can be easily missed from a normal viewing. But these are among the most threatened seagrass species in our region. Okay, so it's called Beckerai seagrass, and this is something that we're trying to look into both in the ecology and the conservation of it. So we do have many other seagrass species in Malaysia. So the current record stands about 17. I think one of our colleagues from the other universities have shown that we have at least that many seagrasses in Malaysia, and they come across as various kinds of so-called large sizes, small sizes, again based on the scale of my hands. So the picture on the bottom, the middle bottom, is what we call the tropical tape grass, or in the scientific term is Anhalus zaccharidis. So this is actually very important, in my opinion, among all the seagrass species. It's not technically threatened in that sense, in that IUCN sense, International Union for Conservation sense, but it creates underwater meadows. It creates stability in the ecosystem. So they are foundation species. They can be considered as ecological engineers. So when you have vast growth of these species, the area is stable, and therefore it creates the spillover effect towards other biodiversity that can be found in this area. They are also somewhat edible in a sense, because when you break open the fruits, these propagules can be seen, and they are actually edible. Okay, so it tastes sort of like a chestnut, and if you're lucky on a fine day and with there are monkeys around, they do go onto the seagrass bed and they can pick it up and they can eat it on their own. Okay, so I'd like to bring you then to looking at the many kinds of ecosystem services, many kinds of functions of seagrasses. Okay, so yes, seagrasses, if I can just read very quickly, seagrass beds support thousands of marine species, store carbon, improve water quality, protect coastline, cycle nutrients, and create habitat corridors between coral reefs and mangroves. Okay, so there are many kinds of functions. Okay, I myself work I myself work on blue carbon. Okay, so we can see the importance of carbon storage, and of course that's a story for another day. But I'd like just to ask you, when did you know about seagrasses, or do you know about seagrasses? Okay, so seagrasses has been around for millennia. I mean, if you look at the taxonomical history, distribution history, they have always been part of our marine ecosystem. So I just bring you to this simple comparison. So this is like data extracted from our publication database. Probably some of you would know what Scopus is. So I just quickly took a very quick keyword search on seagrass biodiversity. How many papers were published from 2000 all the way to 2024 currently, okay? And how many papers have been published based on the keywords of seagrass blue carbon. Okay, you will find that it's interesting because the orange line starts exactly at 2009, but nothing has been published yet on seagrass blue carbon because the main blue carbon report came out in 2009 and sustained the interest over the years, increased in trajectory. And you can see that there is a possibility that the focus on seagrass blue carbon may overtake seagrass biodiversity in the years to come. Okay, we'll see, yeah? So then now, come again, how did seagrasses gain prominence is the question, okay? So there's all this issue about charisma, the theme that I'm going to focus on, the charisma of coastal ecosystems. Among marine scientists, among the marine practitioners, is always the challenge, or there's always a competition on who gets the visibility. Somehow or other, it's always coral reefs. Okay, like it or not, they are charismatic. So these professors here, led by Carlos Duarte, a colleague of mine from Spain. So he saw that this is an issue, and he saw that coastal habitats receive contrasting research effort, with 60% of all published research carried out on coral reefs compared to 11 to 14% on salt marshes, mangrove forests, and seagrass meadows. Okay, so this again was identified back in 2008 when this paper was published. Okay, and not only that, the media attention that is garnered by seagrasses is much, much lower compared to the other ecosystems. So this needs to be modified. This needs to be changed. Otherwise, seagrasses will be on the back end because they are still important coastal ecosystems. So I would say the strategy was laid out in the sense that trying to look at carbon then, how it links, just bear with me, yeah? So we all know that the marine system are important carbon sinks. So this has been known from the past decades already, and this is one of the very important papers that came out in many decades ago, from 1981. Probably some of the attendees here are not born yet, or just babies. And full disclosure, I was still a baby at this time as well. So they knew that this was a issue. Could be a very good attracting point to get attention on seagrasses. And another paper that came out from the lead author, Professor Duarte, and also some years later, the same paper that I mentioned earlier. So they put forward that seagrasses can be important, not just for biodiversity, but for blue carbon. Okay, and this is where the issue of rebranding, the issue of focusing on current issues. There's always talk of mitigating climate change, nature-based solution, and therefore, when this paper came out, there's a lot of interest, and even sustained up till now. And again, I believe in the years to come, there's still going to be more papers, more interest from the research side, from the practitioner side, all the way to the citizens themselves. But anyway, let's talk about biodiversity, okay? Very quickly, yes, we have lots of organisms. So here, there is a certain theme from among these. Yes, there are 3 clear gastropods from small snails all to the larger ones, okay? But you can see the picture on the on the bottom left, bottom right rather. So there's a kind of shellless snail, okay? They call it in layman's terms sea hare. But again, it belongs to the same group of organisms as the others. So basically they are somewhat related in the phylum of mollusks, okay? We also have other interesting species in the form of sea urchins, starfish, sea cucumbers. And again, the similar theme that I'm putting here is that they all belong very, I would say, relatively related from the same phylum, okay? And yes, fish, okay? And the bottom picture there, you see a picture of seahorse. Yes, they are actually a type of fish, and they're not actually horses living in the sea. Seagrasses, yes, they are grasses living in the sea because they are somewhat related to our terrestrial grass, taxonomically anyway. But seahorses, they have very far relationship to terrestrial horses in a sense, okay? But I'll talk about it later on in a bit, okay? And we also have other important organisms in the form of macroalgae or seaweeds that can grow within seagrass meadows, okay? So these are all important species, especially on the picture on your right, the pinkish, reddish specks there, a type of calcifying macroalgae. So it is interesting because they produce calcium carbonate or shell-like material within its tissues. So when they die, they actually contribute back to the environment, they contribute back to the seagrass meadow in the form of calcium carbonate crystals, which becomes the sediment of that area, okay? It actually then becomes a bit of a complication because during the calcification process, they actually emit more carbon than they take in. So if you have a lot of calcium carbonate producing organisms within any ecosystem, so there's going to be a question, and which is still being asked among the scientists, will the ecosystem be a carbon source or a carbon sink? If you have too many shell-like organisms, calcifying organisms, it potentially will be a carbon source ecosystem rather than a carbon sink. But again, these are things that are still ongoing and of interest. So let's see where the science takes us. Yeah. So anyway, when we talk about fauna, it's always of interest to see what's the most charismatic fauna there are. Okay. So it's always usually when we talk about seagrass meadows in our part of the world, it's always usually this species or this group of animals, dugongs. Okay. We have dugongs in this part of the world. We don't have manatees, but both are considered as sea cows. Okay, I don't have a picture that I took of dugongs, but I can say when the dugong was in the area because they create these clear feeding patterns, these zigzaggy trails of defoliated seagrasses, which they eat. Of course, you would know that dugongs are herbivores. They eat seagrasses, okay? And there's a particular species that they like to eat, and this is one of the species, spoongrass or Halophila, okay? But we like dugongs, they are very charismatic, but somehow or other, it's pretty exasperating when they come out in the news. It's always bad news, okay? So these are some of the newspaper excerpts that I took very quickly from online. We have our dugongs dying from accidents or getting entangled on fish nets. And the bottom heading came out from the Straits Times. It was from Singapore waters. So we know that dugongs do not know international boundaries. It may be that they are swimming around at this point of time passing through national boundaries. So if we lose it in waters that are close to us, although it comes from another country, that's our heritage that may potentially be gone as well. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the other charismatic species, seahorses. So this is a picture that I took some years ago, and this is not deliberately placed when the area was exposed. Okay, of course, this was taken when I was visiting the site during low tide. The seagrass was exposed. So during exposure, the water subsides, and the seahorses can get trapped in the middle of the shoal. Okay, in the times that I was visiting these kind of areas with seahorses, usually the seahorses were able to swim away relatively quickly. But at least one time, the seahorses got caught in the middle of the shoal and did not manage to swim away, and basically it just died because of being too long out of the water. Okay, and of course, seahorses are charismatic animals, but one of the threats that they face would be, yes, they are used in traditional medicine. This is a picture that I took some years ago when I was in the area in a supermarket. Okay, so they're not even selling these dried specimens, dried seahorses in a specialty medicine shop, traditional medicine shop. You can find it in their supermarkets. So this is one of the threats to our charismatic fauna in our areas, in our seagrass meadows. All right. I'd just like to add on that some of our colleagues are working on conservation of seahorses in seagrass meadows. So we work also with Save Our Seahorses. Credit to our colleagues from this organization, Adam Lim, and our colleague from UKM, Dr. Wihimbu. So we are monitoring the seahorse population. So they call it Project Hippotag, not hippo as in the hippopotamus, but that's a nice catchy line to get us to remember what kind of initiatives they are. This just comes from the genus name of the seahorse, Hippocampus. Okay, so that's how it came about. Yeah, so we do know that they are important for as a food source, and these are some pictures that I took when the local fishermen had laid out their nets across the seagrass meadow. So we have the blue swimmer crab, the scats, and interestingly, the picture on the middle bottom is a type of coral reef fish. We honestly don't know how it ended up there, and it's probably very rare to have this kind of species in this area. So, but again, what does it indicate? It indicates that within this area, and this is within our Johor waters, there are still thriving coral reefs which can potentially maintain this kind of other charismatic species. We also have gleaners, or people going onto the seagrass meadow to collect shells, gleaning they call it. And of course, you saw the picture on the bottom right, type of gastropod. We call it Levistrombus or Strombus, which can be eaten and which are collected by locals over there. I'd also like to talk about some of our work that we recently published. So the tagline here is biodiversity is good, but imbalances create a different kind of biodiversity profile. Okay, so you would see that the title of this article is about carbon and nitrogen. Again, it's more of towards making use of biodiversity to answer a greater research question. Basically, this question, or the objective of this work that we have published was to look at, or was to ask how much additional contributions of microalgae towards the existing blue carbon of that's contained within the tropical seagrass meadows. So we use macroalgae biodiversity as a tool to answer this question. So just some kind of context first. So this is where the shoal was, rather shoal is, Marambong Shoal. And we know that some years later, or should I say some decades later, construction of the Forest City project came about and modified the coastal environment, okay, basically land use changes. So we went there and we surveyed the area, collected a lot of microalgae samples. So what do we find? We found, firstly, observational, that on the southwestern side of this meadow, there were still nice covers of seagrasses. Okay, so this is me and my students working on the seagrasses there for our blue carbon research, biodiversity, and the like. So it's very different on the other northeastern end. Okay, and this is still a problem in this part of the shoal. Okay, so it's conjecture that the land use change, modification of the coastal environment caused this, but we also looked at how much diversity of macroalgae that's contained within this shoal. Okay, so this is a spatial model that we created to look at just based on species. Okay, from our trip, from our research in the area, so we found there was about more than 30 macroalgae species that can be found there. Okay, and locally or to the exact spots within the meadow, you can find differing number of species between less than 2 to at least about 17. Okay, but if we can also look at the seagrass biomass, which is measured in grams dry weight per meter square, so you can see that there is a sort of like a difference in the profile. Okay, so if you can see the area within somewhat in the middle of the meadow, so this the most lightly colored. So this was one of the areas or one of the parts which was mostly affected by the land use change. Okay, so what can we take from it? And we also look at the issues of the alva biomass. So this was the genus name of the species that I showed you earlier on the seaweed. So there is more concentration of this alva, or should I say sea lettuce, from the middle towards the northeastern end. So we're still trying to answer how much of the cause, how much of the reason is caused by the land use change, or is it a modification of hydrodynamics, or did it come from elsewhere and get deposited there, and other scientific questions that we need to clarify to see whether we can actually get back the condition of the seagrasses. Because mind you that the southwestern end and the northeastern end was relatively homogeneous, or should I say, it's relatively pristine, very nicely covered with seagrasses before the changes took place. Okay, so concurrent with the theme of this talk, yes, we are focusing on biodiversity. Okay, yes, there are a place where we can take lots of pretty pictures. There's a place of important functions of the biodiversity. Okay, but again, like what Dr. Adri has mentioned, we both work on blue carbon. So I work mostly on blue carbon, and this is where I would like to emphasize that carbon storage is gaining traction, is still of interest to the wider public, to the policymakers, to the private sector, and even for us scientists. So what happens now is that when we protect the carbon, we protect the soil, we protect the vegetation, and it's actually contained, and actually the carbon in this kind of blue carbon habitats, mangrove, seagrasses, salt marshes, the most of the carbon is stored in the soil compartment. So what happens when we protect the carbon? We protect everything else. We protect the food services, we protect the biodiversity, and everything else. So in a sense, trying to be smart about it, trying to understand that ecosystem services can be looked at differently. For those in the blue carbon arena, we look at these other ecosystem services as co-benefits. And when we identify these co-benefits, they get protected, they get highlighted while we are conserving the carbon from the ecosystems, and basically the habitat will be effectively conserved. Okay, with that, thank you for your listening. You've been a great audience. Yeah, happy to take questions, and yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Zaimi. The MC has kindly informed me that since this is the last session, the organizer says that we can stay for a few more hours. So, but, perhaps we have a bit targeted because we have a few questions here. Now, I do apologize, but since we are nearing lunch, nevertheless, and you know that's very important for us Malaysians. There are some, I'll probably focus on three questions, one for each in terms of speciality and then one to be shared between you. So the first question is actually on the seagrass. So we conduct, this is from an anonymous questioner, we conduct biodiversity monitoring in 2023 in Pengerang. There are no longer seagrass sighted. What can we do and can we replant them?
Hi, thanks for the question. So there is a sort of ecological context whereby the short of it will be the seagrass come and go. Technically, the seagrass as a plant is actually very difficult to kill unless you destroy the whole ecosystem totally. Okay, so they will always come back as long as the source of disturbance had been stopped. So the question then would be, what's the source of the disturbance in this specific area? I am aware of other seagrasses that are in proximity to the Pengerang area. It may not be visible at that spot, but then again, at what point of time in the day, or what point of time in the month, in the year, was it visited? It may be there once upon a time ago. It may be back if it's consistently monitored, but again, depending on the source of the disturbance. So the other question would be, can replanting work? Replanting is actually pretty difficult to do. There's only, as far as I know, one success story or one success scheme, and that's over in the North American side for a different kind of seagrass. The same technique, the same procedure to replant them in our waters may not be applicable. So the short of it is, it may be theoretically possible, but realistically, financially feasible is the other question.
What about the rejuvenation of the actual soil area? Because it's all soil really.
Sorry?
What about the rejuvenation? If you're saying that the planting of it is difficult, but it can actually regrow into the area, is it possible to rejuvenate the soil of the area?
Yes, there are research that looks into deliberate fertilization, if that's what you're asking. So on a local scale, yes, but the fluxes and the complex biogeochemistry of seagrasses and seagrass meadows and the growth of seagrasses in seagrass meadows may not be that straightforward. Locally, we can try it out in our culture labs, in the microcosms, in our laboratories, but again, how easily that can be transferred or scaled up, I think that's the question, is then another question, another research question on its own.
This is very interesting. So next question is to Professor Aldri. It's from the same person, anonymous. In Pengerang area as well, they've noted, they've appearance of lesions on the mangrove trees. And the question is really in terms of what they signify, what does that mean that it's endangered, whether there's any work that needs to be done and can be done to improve the area.
So disturbances on mangrove can happen in so many ways. It's one, as similar as seagrasses, is direct impact, anthropogenic impact, like land use change and stuff like that. But disturbances also can come from natural events, like storms, like lightning strikes, for example, and it can also come from pathogens, from pollutants coming upstream. So these have different impacts on trees. So it can kill, so like for example, oil or pollutants will affect roots of mangrove, kan? So these roots, pollutants, for example, like oil in particular, will affect fatty acid that actually functions as absorber of water, absorber of oxygen. So it affects the fatty acid and it will kill the trees. The same goes with skins of trees. Like for example, if you skin cereops trees, yeah, to make a preservative or colors for soda, for example. This is happening a lot in Sabah in particular. Yeah? So, I mean, when you skin a cereops trees, it actually kills the whole trees. Yeah, the whole tree will be dead. And if you do it massively, you will kill the whole forest, the whole habitat, basically, right? So the way is enforcing, protecting, and this is where authorities, yes, state authorities, department, agencies, they cannot do it alone. We need assistance from coastal communities in particular. So if they have attachment to their surrounding, right? If we allow co-working, co-benefit as well, right? In between communities and authorities, they will become eyes and ears to protect, stop this from happening, right? And then of course scientists come in, of course, to answer that kind of question like lesion, like different marks happening on trees and stuff like that. We need scientists to co-work as well, right? So make use of us, make use of us. That's the universities all around the country, and they have nature resource scientists now from all at all universities. Yeah, UPM from Putra, from Pertanian now become Putra because they want to cover a lot of other disciplines as well. And you have friends in UMS, Unimas, so make use of scientists. Yeah, and then finally, of course, collaborating with NGOs or civil society organizations, CSO or CBOs. Yeah. Bigger impact can be gained from this co-working. So identifying one issue is one, fixing it is another issue. To think, to strategize. Yeah? So we cannot similar with seagrass. It's not actually easy. Like I mentioned earlier, you can plant a palm tree anywhere on land, but you cannot simply plant seagrass or mangrove anywhere on land. Yeah. So they need extra tender loving care, if you like. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Actually, a point to probably share also from what Prof. Aldri had mentioned about regarding the replanting of mangroves. This appears to be quite a very favorite corporate hobby in Malaysia. Yeah. But unfortunately, unbeknownst to many of us, maybe even the corporate sponsors of these activities, sometimes only 10% of what's actually planted survive. So all that effort, all that funding, all the time, all that passion, and the end, 80-90% of it is swept away because it's not done properly. So having experts like Prof. Aldri, experts like Prof. Rozaimi on board on efforts like that probably be quite good. There is actually one interesting question that has come up that I think can be shared also besides the final one I was reserving. That is actually about the competition between us humans and the nature. So if we recover, the question basically is if we recover the mangroves in previously destroyed areas, and in the case also of seagrass, if we then take the effort that's needed to recover the seagrass, what happens to us? because what if those areas are already populated? What if those areas already have some economic activity? What if people are doing, for instance, very aggressive ecotourism or fishing and things like that? So how do you address that balance between human and nature? If you can answer.
If I can start. Okay, we have to remember, we have to go back to the first day our civilization started off, right? You remember if you open your textbook, history textbook, tingkatan 4. So you will learn about human civilizations all across the world. But if you notice, if you look back, go find your buku sejarah, many of the civilization highlighted was in the tropics. Yeah, and it all started, if you remember, your teacher told you, civilization started off in major river deltas. So what do you have on major river deltas in the tropics? You actually have mangroves. So they stopped being nomad. Yeah, we settled down in deltaic area because of the resources, not just the water, not just water transportation, not just water resources, but the seafood, the protein that we get from the seafood that we eat, and then the fertile land. We become, like planters instead of, hunters and gatherers, right? So, so that's the beginning of it. I want to take you to that particular point of which we should know. We've started off our civilization depending on these resources, yeah, but now population has increased and then we are going towards becoming developed country, right, a developed nation. But don't do it at the expense of the resources that we are depending on. So the plan is the key here. We have to plan it, strategize it properly. So if we cannot go horizontal, we go vertically. Yeah. So and then it is already okay. So we are talking about climate adaptation and mitigation now, right? So one of these adaptation, I mean retreating from coastal area is an adaptation. There are countries, islands in particular, in Pacific, in Indian Ocean, yeah, they are rich islands, like for example Tuvalu, yeah, they are rich because they own .tv as a domain, right? The whole world buy .tv from them. But then Tuvalu is sinking. Or actually, I mean like, yeah, they have lesser land now because of sea level rise, right? So they have to escape, yeah, because of insufficient land to live on. So they need that. Then now there are other issues like migration, like climate, what they call it, apa nama? I can't remember the term. Yeah, but basically we need help from other countries, to populate people from other countries that are affected by climate change now. So these kind of issue we have to strategize. So now, okay, like in the 80s, scientists estimated at that time like we've lost 50% of mangrove, okay? So let's take the number now. If we have 620,000 hectares of mangrove, meaning we used to have 1.2 million hectares a century ago. So let's identify this, yeah, these other 600,000 hectares. I'm pretty sure more than half cannot be restored because of erosion already, or already physical structure. And remember, yeah, I told you, mangrove lies within the intertidal zone, meaning highest high tide and lowest low tide. And the average of this is mean sea level, right? So when we speak about sea level rise, it's not just the mean sea level increasing, it's actually the whole zone. So by understanding the dynamics of coastal area, we should understand that this zone will go up, will go landward, yeah, when sea level rises. So we have to be ready. So now the problem is this highest high tide is being blocked by physical development that we have now. So we have to like fix this now. We have to like minimize this and adapt to that. Yeah. So retreating from coastal area is one way, and I hope from the discussion today, Johor. I'm challenging Johor actually, because there are countries that have already pledged to protect the whole mangrove. I'll take Sri Lanka for example, Cayman Island for example, and a couple more countries. But if Malaysia doesn't want to do it yet, start with Johor. Whatever we have left, protect it and plan accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you. I won't go into so much of a soliloquy speaking about it, but I'll just add on in the bigger frame of things. Let's look back 10 years, 20 years ago. The keyword was sustainable development. Now that's so cliche, that's so yesterday. What's the modification? What's the branding? What's the interest now? They just use goals at the end of the word. So sustainable development goals. Yes, it's expanding, it's evolving, but also it comes with the times. When we talk about SDGs, there's also the issues of looking at net zero. There's looking at trying to see the 3 Rs. Again, the 3 Rs are still pretty much relevant. We heard about it earlier this morning. Reduce, reuse, recycle. Yes, these are some of the simple thoughts that we can bring to ourselves. How can we actually live up to it instead of just it being words, tag words, nice branding words, but whether do we live it? Do we actually reduce our carbon footprint? Yes, the world, back to the question, I mean, the population of the world is increasing, yes, but there is a way of it correcting itself, but not because of wars, but because of other reasons, like both husband and wife, both men and women are working. There's a tendency to have less children. And there are the trends that are happening even in Malaysia right now. Okay, so I believe it's probably in a more positive sense. The world has a way of correcting itself. Look at it positively. Everything can be doom and gloom. If it were doom and gloom, seagrasses would still be at the back seat. We will not be talking about seagrasses in this very nice environment, very nice room. So yes, branding, looking forward, putting in context, I guess that would make it forward, both for, I guess, seagrasses, mangroves, and I guess for salt marshes, although we don't have salt marshes. Yeah, so thank you.
Thanks for that. I'm so glad neither of them said we needed Thanos. That would have been quite bad. Uh, okay, so the final question for both, which actually was the first question asked through Slido, which I kept to last because it's actually quite interesting. It says, how do the speakers stay positive and committed to the work that they do every day when there's so much destruction and damage? And what's the advice that you give for the generations that are coming forward into the future?
You see, that's a problem. I fell in love knowing, I mean, like studying, learning about mangrove, and then the beauty behind it, the processes involving mangrove, particularly on how mangrove, are very affectionate. Mangroves, they produce fruit, like I mentioned just now, but they allow the babies to grow on them, The one hanging on the trees, the propagule that you plant, they actually grow on the trees, on the parent tree. Because the parents know if they release them as fruit, they will never have the chance to grow because tides come in and carry the fruits away. So they may not have the opportunity to grow, closer, in close radius to the parents. And maybe they will travel so far and cannot find a good place, a nice place to take root. So they evolved, like I mentioned earlier, the closest one was 70 million years ago. 70 to 200 million years ago they have evolved to adapt to this. So knowing all of this, I pledged my eternal love towards mangrove. That was way longer before I met my wife. So she might be jealous a little bit because I love mangrove more than her maybe. But now I have to love her and my kid together with mangrove. But the point is that keeps me motivated. Regardless of all these challenges, we have to continue doing it. And the problem is, yes, it is a problem because we are getting lesser and lesser people, lesser and lesser younger generation joining STEM. This is the discussion. But then we see it ourselves because at universities, enrollment is low. But then going into science, going into taxonomy in particular, almost zero. So we need help because these are fundamental knowledge. If we lack of fundamental knowledge, how can we do all this application and applied science, right, of protection, of conservation, if you want to produce things from these resources, right? For example, like extracting maybe nutrient from a particular mangrove plant or seafood. You cannot do it but when you don't know the species, right? You don't know the habit of a plant or a fruit from a plant, right? So this actually keeps me motivated, And of course, I need help. We need help. So like I myself work with a small group of mangrove ecologists, now expanding into larger network, and then expanding not just within Malaysia but all throughout the world, and of course cross-discipline as well. So like I mentioned just now, bankers, for example, right? Politicians, bankers, you have the power to support development. So but then do it, correctly or sound scientific or with nature at the back of your head, right? Because these actually, if you think about sustainable development, the three pillars, right? The environment, the economic, and the social elements. But without this environment pillar, these two will collapse, right? So it has to be done concurrently. So and then yeah, do it strategically. So if someone like wants to like clear mangrove to to I mean like build a resort, for example, like I mentioned just now, or aquaculture ponds, right? So ask them. I mean critically ask them, yeah, on the impacts, and of course, I mean whoever develop a coastal area like that, when disasters happen, yeah, the government has to compensate, right? So why must you waste doing that when you can actually, eliminate the cause of these disturbances, right? So there you go. I mean, like, it's not just us. All of us, all of you actually motivate us to do it. And we need support, we need help, yeah, to do that. We cannot do it alone. Thank you.
Yeah. So I guess I see it and how we can stay positive in a sense, because we are very happy when we are on site. Okay, we get out of the office, we look at trees, we look at the seagrasses, we look at greenery. Yes, it feels peaceful in a sense, yes, and we try to maintain that peacefulness and translating it to or transferring it to public forums like this. It's a responsibility for us, and we are happy to shoulder that responsibility, although it's a heavy responsibility. But also, we can also look at it in a spiritual sense in a way, because you can call it the greenery reflects paradise on earth. How can we say, of course, paradise, heaven, sugar? Some of the descriptions of it is flowing rivers, greenery, lush gardens. So on top of that, we have the responsibility to be caretakers, to be custodians of these very important systems that we have, and trying to relate to the colleagues over here, to everyone who's interested to listen to us. It's a pleasure, it's an honor, but also hopefully you can also share it with your friends, your family, your colleagues, that there are important ecosystems in the world, equivalent to, maybe not equivalent, but at least representative of paradise on earth. And just you have to look at it that way. Thank you.
Before Akram continues, the next meeting should be Johor green-blue legacy. Yeah, blue and green, because, yeah, I mean, especially in this session, we're not just talking about the greeneries. It's actually the connection, the connector. Mangrove and seagrasses is the connection in between land and the ocean. And we are part of ocean, we are part of land. So, Blue-Green Legacy Johor Summit 2024 in December. Thank you.
Thanks. I'm so glad Professor Radri also added in that, because you see at the APCW last year, we actually had 2 sessions of half an hour each. Today we managed to get one session was seagrass, one session was mangrove. This time we've got one session that's now lasted about an hour, almost an hour and a half, with the 2 gentlemen. So now we're going to pitch maybe for the organizers to look at, 3 days maybe, not 3 hours, but 3 days, because you can certainly stretch it out with other topics. So thanks very much, gentlemen. I hope everyone already gets an appreciation that we're not talking about just one mangrove tree or one blade of seagrass. We're talking about total ecosystems that interestingly doesn't just affect the coastline, but as per what was shared, even inland forests, inland tropical fruits, even our durian is linked. Our fisheries, of course, is linked to all this. So I hope there's a deeper appreciation of that. There's one final question that I need to also answer, because after this everyone will probably move on. There was a question from a gentleman named Muhammad asking whether there were any carbon credit projects in Malaysia involving mangrove. Actually, I can answer that, because I'm part of the only blue carbon developer that's Malaysian based. And we have actually been engaged by a few states on early discussions. But in the public space, the state of Sarawak is very aggressive in trying to invite people to begin with some studies that will be precursors to carbon credit projects. So that's something that's worth having a look at for any states like the state of Johor, to see how it can be developed. And we ourselves were involved in one project that's actually on private land, or privately controlled land in Sabah. So if there's any further interest on that, please come to me. So this is my moderator's prerogative to do a bit of advertising. Thanks so much. Thanks very much for the organizers for this opportunity. We've already made the pitch for a larger platform in the future, we hope. And I will hand this over back to our MC. Thanks so much.
Right. Once again, thank you very much to our moderator, J. Akram Shah. Thank you very much to Dr. Ahmad and Dr. Rozaimi. And of course, people don't go away because we have the closing remarks coming up in just a bit. And of course, I do agree with Dr. Rozaimi because if you look at civilization in terms of paradise, some of the Islamic garden that actually incorporate, you have to have these three elements, which is water, rock, and plant. Right? So these are three elements. And again, it's interesting to know that on the bigger picture, for instance, if you remove mankind from the earth, the earth will thrive, will blossom. But if you remove a bee or the entire bee population on planet Earth, the whole ecosystem will collapse. Man, human, everything will collapse because bee, no matter how small they are, they play a vital role in the whole biosystem. And of course, later on, we're gonna display the QR code for you to actually scan to download the AI on the summary of all the topics that have been discussed for the last 3 days or for today. And at the same time, we also encourage everyone to actually scan also to give your fair feedback of the entire Summit 2024, namely the Green Legacy Johor, and hopefully later on we're going to have the Green Blue Legacy Johor Summit 2024. Right, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera, salam bangsa Johor, ladies and gentlemen. Well, welcome to the closing remark to the Green Legacy Johor Summit 2024. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been an incredible few days filled with insightful discussion, visionary ideas, and a strong display of commitment towards a more sustainable future. Throughout this summit, we have seen not only the exchange of groundbreaking ideas, but also the passions of individuals and organizations coming together for a common goal. The summit has been a powerful catalyst in Johor's sustainable journey, and it's exciting to see the foundation being laid for a greener and more resilient future. Ladies and gentlemen, now as the summit draws to a close, it is time to reflect on the milestone we have reached and to set the direction for Johor's sustainable action plan and future blueprint. We have taken the first step, but this is just the beginning of our journey towards creating lasting environmental changes. With that, ladies and gentlemen, it is our pleasure to cordially invite Yang Berusaha Encik Faizul Omar, Chief Executive Officer, Sustainable Johor, to deliver the closing remark. Dipersilakan.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera dan salam maju Johor. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, sponsors and distinguished speakers. As we gather here at closing of the Green Blue Legacy Johor Summit 2024, I'm filled with immense pride and gratitude for the incredible journey we've shared over the past 3 days. So with the Johor Green Deal as our guide, this event has been a landmark moment in our collective efforts to position Johor as a beacon of sustainability and climate leadership. I would like to begin by sincerely thanking all the participants, speakers, and sponsors whose involvement has been vital to the success of the summits. The dedication and hard work from so many individuals in making this event a success has been truly remarkable. Our sincere appreciation also goes to the state of Johor for the continued effort in driving regional climate actions, We also extend our gratitude to Invest Johor for their vital role in making this event possible. Over the past 2.5 days, with more than 700 registered participants, 40 influential speakers, and over 30 engaging sessions, we have demonstrated our collective appetite for meaningful progress towards sustainability. It is our hope that this summit has inspired participants to generate fresh ideas, forge new partnerships, and take action towards sustainable future. The groundwork for Johor Green Legacy has been set now. With a vision that extends far beyond this room and today. Let me now take a moment to reflect on insights and key takeaways from these 5 core pillars of the Johor Green Deal that have guided our conversations. In our discussions, we reaffirmed that the pathway to decarbonized future must be driven by innovations and unwavering commitment. The sessions, particularly the Enhancing Renewable Energy Reliability Panel discussion, revolve around the pressing need to integrate renewable energy into existing grid and also industries. Gerbang Nusa Jaya Renewable Energy Industrial Park is a prime example of Johor commitments to advancing the real energy transitions. It shows that the future we envision is not distant. It is actually being shaped right now through policy shifts, investment, and technology breakthrough. The collaboration and discussion held here set the tone for this transformation journey, positioning Johor as a leader in Malaysia energy transformations. Moreover, our discussions on energy were not just theoretical. The real-life example shared by industry leaders have instilled a renewed drive within us to make the shift in a reality. Our commitment to sustainability is not merely an aspiration, it also calls for action. We learned that sustainable practice in energy generation and also industrial operations are not just beneficial, they are also necessary for the future of our planet and our economy. As Johor continued to grow, we have recognized that sustainable urban development is no longer a choice, it is a necessity. Our sessions on green cities, smart growth, led by Iskandar Regional Development Authority or IRDA, and the digitalization in urban management highlight how eco-friendly infrastructure and public-private partnership are crucial to urban resilience. Datuk Haji Nur Azam bin Haji Osman, Mayor of Johor Bahru City Council, insights into Johor Bahru digitalization efforts, including the installation of AI-powered cameras across the city, have shown that Johor is already taking bold steps toward smarter, greener urban spaces. Through the sharing of best practices and ideas, we explored our green cities are more than just eco-friendly. They are healthier, more vibrant, and resilient spaces for communities. Our green city plans will undoubtedly serve as a model for other regions to follow, balancing development with quality of life for all. The commitment we've seen to integrating sustainable practices in urban development is truly commendable, and we move forward, it will be critical that we maintain the momentum. So among the most uplifting parts of the summit has been the youth-led movement for climate action. Young leaders are driving community-based sustainability projects in Johor Bahru itself, proving that our future is indeed in capable hands. It is our duty to support them, to provide platform, resources, and also opportunities so they can take the lead in creating a sustainable future for all. The Empowering Future Climate Leaders sessions further stress the importance of equipping our youth with tools they need to continue with vital work. The insights shared by young activists and innovators have invigorated our discussions, reminding us that the next generation will play a pivotal role in realizing our collective visions. Our discussion then have reiterated our interconnected we are with our ecosystem. The current need to protect and restore biodiversity from mangrove to marine life has never been more pressing. Initiatives across Johor, including the mangrove restoration and coastal protection session, brought home the necessity of conservation efforts. We talk about vital ecosystems like the Sungai Johor and ongoing efforts to protect firefly populations and introduce shellfish into the Johor river system. These discussions are a reminder that safeguarding our natural heritage is non-negotiable, essential for both our ecological resilience and our identity as stewards of this land. These insights shared by our experts alongside compelling case studies have illuminated the challenges we face, but also the solution we can implement. Our commitment to land, water, and ocean biodiversity must be steadfast, and we are reminded that every action counts in preserving these valuable resources. Lastly, we cannot underestimate the important role of climate finance in turning ambitions into action. Without proper funding, even the most ambitious goals can falter. The discussion on innovative financing models that bridge the gap between the public and private sector showcase the Johor potential to become the regional hub for climate solutions. One standout moment came during the carbon credit exchange sessions, where financing strategies that will power future climate action were highlighted. This summit has eliminated the need for public-private collaboration to ensure that our visions of sustainable Johor is backed by tangible resources. As we move forward, it will be essential to secure the financial backing necessary to turn our commitment into realities. Ladies and gentlemen, artificial intelligence, or AI, has become the crucial tool in today's world. While its rise disrupted some traditional workflow, its ability to make our tasks easier is undeniable. At this Green Legacy Johor Summit 2024, AI played a key role transcribing and summarizing our discussion in real time, generating idea clouds and highlighted key takeaways with accessible via simple QR code. The use of AI provides us with glimpse into the future of how conference and climate action can be more efficient and impactful. This cutting-edge technology is transforming how we manage, share information. Now, through simple QR code, the legacy of our discussion is made available to everyone. Additionally, I would like also to acknowledge the participation of University Technology Malaysia, UTM, in our Action Hub segment. Their contribution have pivotal in advancing our discussion on sustainability, particularly through the presentation of their innovative climate risk assessment tool for energy systems. The climate risk tool will help companies assess risk before investing in renewable energy by evaluating resilience, localizational resuitability, and also financial implications of provocative versus reactive strategies in response to climate-related disruption. UTM engagement marked by innovative ideas and fresh perspectives serve as powerful reminder that the youth today are the leaders of tomorrow, driving forward sustainability, conservation, and also solutions that address real-world challenges. So in closing, this summit has not only showcased the urgency of action, but also illuminated the boundless potential we possess and we united under the shared vision. It is now too late to talk about creating awareness, to talk about creating plan for action. It is time now to act. Without action, well, our world will burn. So the conversation we had over the past 2 years, 2 days now, for years now, will be impactful, solution-driven, serving as an inspiration reminder that change is not a distant goal, but also something we can achieve today. Once again, I extend my heartful thankful to all of you for your dedication, insights, and participation made the summit's resounding success. As we move forward, let's ensure the Green Legacy Johor Summit 2024 is a continuous call for action for a better future. We look forward to continuing our collaboration with all of you, working together in alignment with Johor's aspiration to become leaders in regional climate action. Together, we can turn our discussion into reality, building the future that honors our planet and secure our legacy generation to come. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you to Encik Fazlul Omar for the inspiring words and for helping to set the course for Johor's sustainable future. Ladies and gentlemen, as the summit comes to an end, we greatly appreciate if everyone could take a moment to watch a video presentation.
As the Green Legacy, Johor Summit 2024 comes to a close, we reflect on 2.5 incredible days of collaboration, learning, and inspiration. We are thrilled to have brought together passionate individuals from around the globe, united by a common goal to tackle the pressing environmental challenges of our time. Your presence and participation have sparked new ideas and solutions, paving the way for meaningful collaborations and impactful actions. Johor is proud to be a beacon of change, always ready to embrace innovation and sustainability. Thank you for being a part of this journey. Together, we can create a greener, more sustainable future. Until next time, let's continue to work together as a global community. Green Legacy Summit, where change begins.
Ladies and gentlemen, do share your feedback by scanning the QR code display on screen. And of course, your input helps us make future event even better. With that, ladies and gentlemen, the Green Legacy Johor Summit 2024 officially comes to a close. On behalf of the organizing committee, we thank you for your participation, your ideas, and your commitment to building a greener tomorrow. Safe travel, and we look forward to seeing you in the near future. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, everyone, and have a nice, wonderful day.